Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku had a quirk and trained with Bakugo Part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see Part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story, My Hero Academia fan 132 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. Izuku is a kid 4 years old right now. He lost his parents in a car crash but was adopted by his friend's parents. His friend is called Bakugo. Izuku was happy beyond words. Not only did he have a quirk, he actually had two. He had improved versions, if not mutated versions, of his parents' quirks. You know what that means, right, Izuku? Bakugo said happily. Yeah, we are going to become heroes, Izuku said with a big smile. Although first we have to learn how to control our quirks, he added. Yeah, but we got years for it. Let's keep doing our best and train together, Bakugo said happily. With that, the two boys trained every day around the beach. Since it was filled with trash, no one would notice them there and they could use their quirks however they liked without hurting others. Slow but steadily they learned more and more about their quirks. At first it was mostly laughing because Izuku floated up just going around in circles since he couldn't control it yet. But it didn't take Izuku long till he learned how to control his floating. He quickly even learned how to make Bakugo float. At first it was a scary idea for Bakugo, but he soon began to enjoy floating like that until he noticed that Izuku was the one controlling the directions and how high and fast he went. Izuku teased Bakugo quite a bit with it, but Bakugo didn't mind. They were friends after all. After 9 years of training their quirks, both boys were now 13 years and decided that they would also have to train their bodies. Sure, they had impressive quirks, but they couldn't rely just on that to help them. They had to be strong and fast enough if it would ever happen that they couldn't use their quirks. At first they started at the gym to start on making a base to start with. Both of them buffed up in a few years. But after 2 years they got bored of only going to the gym and started to think of other ways to train. The boys are now 15 years old. Hey, why don't we clean the beach then? Izuku asked. Why would we do that? Bakugo asked. Well, there are a lot of heavy things laying around there, so it would help us with training, making us stronger, and in the meantime we help people by cleaning the beach, which gives them back a beautiful place, Izuku explained. Well, if you put it like that. We have been searching for another way to train, so I guess I'll join you in on it, Bakugo said. But we can't use our quirks or else we won't gain a thing. And I mean you, mister, I can make everything float, Bakugo teased. Yeah, but we got a time limit. I guess we have to clean this whole beach before we go for the entrance exam for you, Izuku said. Why is that? Bakugo asked. Well, it's more interesting to have a time limit, and if we clean this entire beach then our bodies will have gained a lot of strength, so we are sure to be ready for whatever they throw at us, Izuku said, determined. Alright, so we have around 10 months to clean this entire beach then. But it certainly is a lot. Even with the two of us it will be tough to make it in that time, Bakugo admitted. You up for the challenge or not? Izuku asked. Hell yeah, was the answer. With that, Izuku and Bakugo decided they would clean the beach. School just ended, so they would have enough time to clean the beach. Of course, they couldn't slack on their other training for speed and endurance either, and they had to keep training their quirks as well. Even so, they combined all of it. Every day was a living hell, pushing them to the limits, but in the end they cleared cleaning the beach 1 week before the entrance exam to UA. Now that was challenging, Bakugo said with a smirk. Yeah, we actually pulled it off, Izuku said with a smile. They rested up for a bit since they were really tired and just enjoyed the view. You know, I'm glad we cleaned this beach. The view is incredible, Izuku said softly. You can say that again. Even Bakugo enjoyed the view. Well, we should get home for dinner. You know Mom will be pissed and become like a demon if we get late, Bakugo said in an annoyed tone. Yeah, you're right, we should, Izuku smiled awkwardly. Even though Bakugo and his mom mostly went at it against each other with yelling and swearing, everyone always ended up laughing. He loved all of them and considered them his real family. On their way home they went through the shopping district but saw a big crowd surrounding an alleyway, and then the sound of a load crash could be heard. Izuku and Bakugo quickly ran towards it to watch, and saw there was a Sludge villain, but he had a hostage. It was a girl with long periwinkle blue hair. She tried using her quirk to escape but was only wasting her energy. She is in trouble, Izuku thought, but before he knew it he and Bakugo already rushed towards the girl. Stop it, stupid children, you will only get yourself killed, the pro-hero 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 yelled. News reporters were sending all of it live on TV. Hey, isn't that? A guy with black hair said while watching the TV. Yeah, that's Nijire, we have to help her. A blonde guy with a cartoonish face said watching as she used her quirk without success. The blonde quickly ran towards the door and was stopped by his friend. Wait, he said, making the blonde stop. Look here, he said, pointing at the TV showing while two boys quickly rushed towards the villain. Are they going to try and save her? The blonde asked, do they have a chance? A silence fell. Well, even if they do or not, they are going to try instead of just standing by like the other pros, so let's hope they can pull it off, the black-haired said. Back at Izuku and Bakugo. They were running towards the Sludge villain while avoiding the Sludge villain's attacks. Stay away, you little brats, I just need a few more seconds to consume this vessel, he said. Izuku used his fire on the other side of the villain, slowly hardening it on the other side away from the girl. Izuku quickly grabbed her. Do it, Bakugo! Izuku yelled, then Bakugo blew up the side that had hardened, making the Sludge villain scream in pain and loosening his grip on the girl just enough so they could get her out. Damn it, you are useless, you know that. Someone said from up the roof towards the Sludge villain. Even capturing one girl was too much for you, huh? The same person said while jumping down, followed by a group of villains surrounding Izuku and Bakugo. Well, this suddenly got a lot more interesting, Bakugo smirked. You ready, Izuku? He then asked. Of course I am, he said with a confident smile. Watch out, kids, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 yelled while trying to help him when suddenly the Sludge villain attacked 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃, holding him back. You little brats will pay for what you did, he yelled at them. You sure? We might blow you up all the way this time, Bakugo provoked. This pissed of the Sludge villain and it tried grabbing Bakugo, but Izuku jumped in front of him. Now that was too easy, the Sludge villain said. Where is your big mouth now? He bragged. Suddenly he was hardening from the inside out as Izuku used his quirk to surround himself with fire. Bakugo destroyed him, freeing Izuku. He is not dead, right? Izuku asked. Nah, I doubt it. Once he becomes like Sludge again, he will regenerate, I think, Bakugo said. It would be bad if we killed him, though we would be seen as villains then, he said nonchalant. Oh well, let's deal with this bunch now, Izuku said. Bakugo started making small explosions while Izuku used his flames on his hands and feet. Then they each took a side and started taking out the villains one by one until two of them charged at the girl. She had regained consciousness but couldn't move yet. 𝗧𝗏𝗃, Izuku. They are going after her. Bakugo shouted while Izuku turned around and used his fire in his feet to speed up and make it just in them to kick them both in the face. Are you alright? He asked the girl. Did they hurt you? He quickly added. No, I'm fine, thanks, and sorry for being a burden, she said. Don't worry about it, he said with a smile. Now wait here for just a bit, we will finish this, he said while rushing the remaining villains on his side. She kept watching him as he punched one in the gut, then he gave a low kick to another one, making that one fall just to slam him into the wall. Someone tried attacking him in the back, but he made a backflip and kicked the villain in the head. All the villains were now taken care of and Bakugo and Izuku walked towards the girl. Are you alright, can you stand? Izuku asked, helping her up. Thanks, but you two were awesome, she said. Thanks, they both said in unison. When suddenly 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 charged at them. Hold it right there, kids, he yelled. Yeah, lecture is the last thing I am waiting for, Bakugo said. Hey Bakugo, weren't we also gonna be late for dinner? Izuku asked, slowly freaking out. Oh, 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃, Bakugo said while running. Izuku smiled and ran after him. Wait, what's your name? The girl asked. Izuku wanted to stop and turn around but saw 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 already close by when Bakugo yelled at him. Izuku, hurry the hell up, we don't have time for this now, he yelled. Sorry, maybe if we see each other again, we can talk more, Izuku said while running off. Then Izuku quickly used his other quirk to make himself and Bakugo fly away. Oh yeah, I forgot you could do that, Bakugo admitted. 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 stopped his pursuit as he knew it would be pointless now. At UA. Wow, that was definitely something, the blonde said. Yeah, even though the pros couldn't do a thing, they made it seem so easy, the black-haired said. Even when fighting those villains, they kept checking their surroundings and they also knew from each other what the other was doing. It was like they had the same mind, he said. Yeah, and you saw how fast he was to protect Nijire. Those two villains were really close to her, but he almost made it there in an instant. The blonde said. I really hope we get to meet them sometime, he said with a smile. At the alley. So the blonde is Bakugo and the gentle cute boy was Izuku. I hope I get to meet him again, she thought. But little did anyone know someone else was watching it all happen. Those kids were incredible. The available pros couldn't do a thing and they rushed in without hesitation, defeated the Sludge villain while afterwards protecting that girl from any harm from the other villains while also having each other's backs and keeping check of their surroundings. Would they be going to UA? I hope they do. This society needs heroes like them. Maybe I should try to find them and have a talk with them, the man thought. Back at Izuku and Bakugo. You two are late. What did I tell you about being late for dinner? Bakugo's mom yelled. Oh, never mind, I saw what happened on TV and I must admit you two handled the situation pretty good. I'm proud of you too, and she said while hugging them. Let me go, you old hag, you know I don't like it when you do this. Bakugo yelled. She hit him on the head. Don't you call me old hag, you little 𝗧𝗓𝗍𝗧. I'm still your mother. She said. Izuku wasn't even amazed by it anymore and just started laughing like usual. They ate dinner and then watched some more TV before going to bed. It was a long day and they really needed the rest. It was the next morning. The events of the day earlier were still fresh in Izuku and Bakugo's memory. They fought off real villains and saved a girl. While Bakugo was mostly thinking about how good they handled the situation, Izuku's mind sometimes took a turn towards the girl they saved. I wonder what her name is and if we'll meet her again. Izuku thought. Well, what do we do now for the rest of the week? We are done with the beach and we still have a week to spare for the entrance exam, Bakugo asked, which snapped Izuku back to reality. We could go to the gym or just hang out somewhere. Izuku said. Maybe I will just stay at home today. Bakugo then said. All right, then I'm going out for a walk, Izuku said. He put on his shoes and walked outside. He was just walking around. Secretly, he hoped he would see the girl he saved again, even though he doesn't know why. His mind keeps going back to her. She was cute and beautiful, but still I know nothing about her, so why do I keep thinking of her? He thought. Slowly he reached the beach they just completely cleaned the other day. He sat down at the side of the road to watch the water and the clean beach. At some places people were laying down enjoying the sun. Well, people are already making use of the beach again, I guess that's good, he thought. Suddenly a skinny man walked up to him. Hello, young man, is it alright if I sit next to you? He asked. Izuku looked up a bit confused as he didn't know who it was. Sure, go ahead, he answered the man. Even though he didn't know who it was, he was curious to know what the man wanted with him. It's pretty, right? The open beach. The sea and the open blue sky, the man started. Yeah, it really is, Izuku answered. At first the whole beach was covered in trash, but I heard people cleaned it, the man said. Yeah, my brother and I did, he answered. This made the man interested. Why did you do it though? He asked. We needed a way to train, and since we got bored of the gym we needed something else. Then I thought, why not clean the beach? It will also be good for the people, he answered in all honesty. I see, that's good to hear. And this brother of yours, is he the boy you were with yesterday to save that girl? He asked. Why? Yeah, but how do you know? Izuku asked in confusion. I was there, but I have to ask, is he really your brother? You two seem nothing alike, he asked. His parents adopted me, Izuku answered in a sad tone. What about your parents? He asked. Died in an accident. May I ask you another question? The man asked. All right, Izuku said. What made you save that girl back then? What were your thoughts? He asked. To be honest, my body just moved. I was thinking that she was in trouble, but before I knew it I was already moving in, he answered. You know, most of the heroes I know had one thing in common. All their greatest stories started with them running to save someone before even thinking about it. Their bodies just moved on their own. You certainly act like a real hero, young man, he said. And you have good insight. Even when you two were fighting, you were always keeping a close eye on your surroundings, looking what the villains were doing and what your partner was doing, even what the person you saved was doing. What shocked me was that speed you used to save her and the force you used. It was so intense, yet you were so kind and gentle towards her, all while in a fight that really amazed me, the man explained. Well, thanks, Izuku said, awkwardly scratching his head. You know, you seem familiar. You look like the skinny version of All Might, Izuku joked. Can you keep a secret, kid? he asked. Sure, what is it? Izuku asked, now curious. I seem that way because I am actually All Might, he whispered. Okay, hold on a second, isn't All Might supposed to be a muscular man? And a lot taller? He asked, trying to stay calm. I can buff my appearance like those people who buff their muscles to show off, but I got hurt in a battle a few years ago which makes me look like this. I almost died, he explained while lifting his shirt a little so Izuku could see the wound. You know, I was actually looking for you, All Might said. I'm looking for someone to inherit my quirk. It's like a sacred torch passed down from generation to generation, he explained, and I want you to have it, he then said. It got silent for some time. As much as I would like to, I have to say no thank you. Sure, I want to be just like you, a real hero who can save everyone with a smile and become the symbol of peace and the greatest hero, but I don't want to copy you and I want to do it with my own power, Izuku explained. Alright then, I understand, All Might smiled. Sorry, All Might, I am sure you will find a worthy successor, he said. Don't worry about it, young man. By the way, what's your name? He asked. My name is Izuku, he answered. Izuku, you just let an amazing chance pass, Izuku heard from behind him just to see Bakugo standing behind them. All Might got a bit nervous. Don't worry, I'm the only one that heard about it. I'm not gonna tell anyone, he quickly said to All Might to put him at ease. By the way, All Might, what brings you to this place? Bakugo asked. I'm actually here to work. Starting from this school year, I will be a teacher at UA. All Might explained. Then you will be seeing us again real soon, Bakugo said with a smirk. You two are going to UA? All Might asked with a smile. Yeah, we will be taking the entrance exam in a few days, Izuku said. We will make it in and become the greatest heroes. Bakugo bragged. He certainly has a lot of pride, All Might noticed. Well, I have to take care of some stuff back at the school, kids, so I might see you again at UA then, All Might said before standing up and leaving. See you around, All Might, and it was nice meeting you in person, Izuku said with Bakugo nodding in agreement with a gentle smile. Yeah, Izuku is right, you are our idol and we want to be great heroes just like you, hell even better than you. Bakugo said now with a smirk. Then you two have given yourself quite a high goal to reach. I can't wait to see you two surpass me then, All Might said with a confident grin. With that, All Might left. SHT, Izuku said. This took Bakugo by surprise. Did you just say he asked. Yo, what? Izuku asked. You never use such words or swear and such, he said. Well, I do spend a lot of time with you, so you must be rubbing it off on me, he joked. This made them both laugh. But really, what's up? Bakugo asked. I forgot to ask his autograph, he answered. You idiot, Bakugo said while smacking his forehead with his hand. Well, he will be a teacher at UA, so you will have enough time then, he added. After that they went back home. Days passed quickly until the day of the entrance exam. You know, I am kinda nervous about the test, Izuku said. Not me, I know we will pass, Bakugo bragged. Then he spaced out somewhere as he saw a girl with brown hair tripping over her own feet. That's gonna hurt and a terrible way to start all this, he said. Izuku looked up and quickly aimed his hand towards the girl to make her float with his quirk. Bit of information: Izuku can only make two people float since he has to aim his arms towards them to aim for making something float. One it or the person floats, he can freely move his arms but the person will move to the spot where his hands are aiming. He can make himself float by concentrating his quirk on himself. The girl noticed that she stopped falling as she slowly was floating up and afterwards softly placed back on the ground. She turned around to look and saw Izuku holding his hand towards her. It must be his quirk that stopped me from falling, she thought. She walked up to Izuku and Bakugo. Was that you just now who stopped me from falling? She asked. Yeah, my brother saw it happen and we both thought that it would be a terrible way to start such a nervous thing like that, so I kinda used my quirk on you to stop you from falling. Sorry for that, Izuku said. No worries, thanks for that, she smiled. You too, she said looking at Bakugo with a smile. I didn't do anything, anyways we got no time for this, the entrance exam is starting, he said while walking off. Is he always like that? She asked. Kinda, he is nice to me because his parents adopted me and we trained a lot, but yeah, he is always like this to others, he explained. He is right though, the exam is about to start, she said while running off. Izuku followed to a big room where a lot of students were sitting. To his luck he was placed next to Bakugo but were placed in different training grounds. Present Mike was explaining the rules and about the way to earn points until someone cut him off to tell the teacher that he was lying since there are 4 robots instead of 3. Mike explained that this was a 0-point villain and that there was no merit in fighting it. After all that everyone was sent to their training grounds, Izuku and Bakugo bumped fists before both left towards their training grounds. After he got there he saw the girl from earlier. He wanted to walk off until the guy that cut off the teacher earlier stopped him. That person is obviously nervous. Are you trying to obstruct everyone and get them out of the game to higher your chances? The man asked. Nope, I am confident enough with my own skill. It's just that I saw her earlier and I wanted to see if she was alright, he explained. Well then I am sorry for jumping to conclusions. The man bowed. It's alright, we are all nervous about this, he said when suddenly the doors went open and Present Mike yelled, "Start." Izuku didn't hesitate and ran right in, leaving everyone behind him. He quickly got inside and began tearing down the robots. After a few minutes Mike shouted that there were only 2 minutes left, when suddenly a lot of rumbling could be heard followed by a crash. Once he looked towards the sound he saw a giant robot. It was the 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗧 one. No point in stopping that one, Izuku thought, and at the moment he wanted to take of using his quirk he heard someone. Ouch! He turned around and saw the girl from earlier with her legs stuck between boulders. Without thinking Izuku moved towards her but noticed he needed a good strong hit to blow away the robot. Izuku engulfed himself in flames while flying up with his other quirk. Once Izuku got high enough in the sky, he focused his fire in his hands and launched himself at the robot. Kinda like Bakugo's howitzer, just with fire instead of explosions. Burning tornado. He shouted while he reached the robot and destroyed it. It looked harder than it actually was. I could have stopped it with less power, but oh well, this worked, he thought. He used his quirk to slowly deck-end back down to the ground, then ran towards the girl and took the boulder off her leg. Are you okay? He asked. Yeah, I'm fine, just a broken ankle, she said. But I thought your quirk was that floating thing. I didn't know you had 2 quirks. She said. I will tell you about it sometimes. For now let's get you to a doctor to fix you up, he said while lifting her up. He slowly walked towards the entrance where the school nurse was waiting for everyone. By the way, my name is Achiko Uraraka, she said. Mine is Izuku, he said. Are you there? Please put her down so I can heal her, the woman said. Then he heard someone explain that she is called Recovery Girl and that her quirk makes the healing process go faster. At that moment, Recovery Girl kissed Uraraka on the head to heal her. You should be alright now, but you will feel very tired. My quirk makes the healing process go faster, but that will cost energy, she explained. That's alright, thanks for healing me, she said. The entrance was over and they slowly walked towards the gate together where Bakugo was waiting. Took you long enough, he started. Yes, sorry. By the way, this is Achiko Uraraka. I was late because she had broken her ankle and I took her to the school nurse, he explained. Bakugo looked at her. Alright then looked away. Let's go home, he said walking off. Hey Izuku, can you explain how you got 2 quirks? She asked while walking with the 2 boys. Well, they are improved if not mutated forms of my parents' quirks. My mom could make little things float towards her while I can make myself float and or others while also using it to control trajectory for my flames. My fire quirk is form my dad, he could only breath fire while I can use it from my whole body to fight close combat or shoot fire towards somewhere. I can also use it as a booster to fly faster, Izuku explained. Wow, that's so cool, she said in amazement. What's his quirk? She asked, pointing at Bakugo, and instead of explaining, he just made an explosion towards the air, scaring most people on the street. I see he can make explosions, she said with an awkward smile. Bakugo, really man? Izuku laughed a little. It's better to show her than to explain it, he answered. You got a point. After some time Uraraka left for her home while Bakugo and Izuku walked back to their home. We will definitely make it into UA. Izuku and Bakugo had finished the entrance exam. Now all they had to wait for the results. Izuku and Bakugo decided that they would spar some more as training. It was never a bad idea to train and get stronger. Although Izuku wasn't really in the battle with his head, Bakugo knocked Izuku down easily. Man, it's no fun if you don't even try. Are you even there at all? Bakugo asked. Or are you thinking about the chick from UA that you saved? Bakugo teased. No, not her, Izuku said. So you are thinking of someone, Bakugo said with a grin. Yes, I mean no. I mean, what do you mean? Izuku got embarrassed. Let me guess, the chick we saved from the Sludge villain and the group. He then asked, wait, how do you know? Izuku asked in confusion. Ever since then you have been thinking sometimes and totally spaced out, Bakugo explained. We lived together for years now and I know you for so long, so it's pretty obvious to me, he added. I was just wondering how she's doing, also if she has a quirk and maybe goes to you as well. Hell, I don't even know her name. Izuku chuckled a bit embarrassed. Oh well, no point in worrying about all that, maybe you see her again someday, Bakugo said. After that they went back home for dinner. Some time had already passed and the letters would arrive that day. Once they had dinner they went to their room to play some games when eventually they were called downstairs since the letters had arrived. Both Izuku went to separate rooms to open it and see how they did. Luckily both had passed, but they weren't surprised as they were sure they nailed it. The next week. The week went by pretty fast as both Izuku and Bakugo were excited to go to UA. They already had their bags ready for the dorms too. Izuku and Bakugo walked towards the school. Once there a man covered in black clothes and some kind of wrapping cloth around his neck was waiting. You two happen to be Izuku and Bakugo? He asked as the two nodded. Good, you are the last for my class 1A, follow me to your dorm, he said and slowly walked towards the dorm. I wonder if he sleeps enough, Izuku thought looking at the man. Once they arrived at the dorm there was a whole group waiting in the common area. Alright, everyone get together, he said. These are everyone's rooms, boys are on the right, girls on the left, he said while handing out a small paper with everyone's sleeping place. The common area is free for all, although the bathrooms and toilets are separate by gender, so you better all behave, he said while looking at someone's perverted face. Now get your stuff into your dorm rooms and get to class, I will see you all there, the man said while leaving. Slowly everyone walked to their rooms, unpacked a little and quickly went to their class. Izuku and Bakugo arrived together when suddenly someone walked up to them. You two are late, the man said while swinging his arms around like a robot. Move it, you 𝗵𝗃 extra, Bakugo said while walking past him. My name is 𝗕𝗫𝗍𝗍, not extra, he said a bit angry. Don't mind him, he is always like that, Izuku chuckled nervously. Get inside already, we don't have all day, someone said from behind him, which gave him a shiver, then slowly ran inside and took a seat. Seats are the same as normal. Aizawa told them all to introduce themselves shortly, and so everyone did. Alright, everyone put on these gym uniforms and go outside, he said while giving out the uniforms to the first row students who have to give it to the others. After that everyone quickly changed and got outside. You will all be tested right now, I want to see how good you all are and just how much potential you all have. Take this as a game and I will expel you at the spot, understood? He said in a serious tone. Everyone just nodded as no one dared to object to that. The tests went on quickly and Izuku was impressed by some quirks of the quirks, but more importantly how they used them. Uraraka used her quirk at the ball throw to get infinity, Ida used his engine around the speed run, while Todoroki launched himself with his ice. Mineta won the sidestep since he just bounced off 2 of his ball. It was Izuku's turn on the ball throw now. He grabbed the ball, then focused his quirk on his hand. He threw the ball up, grabbed it, and threw it, but his quirk was stopped by his teacher. Figured you wouldn't give it your all, you need time to charge some great power with your fire. And I want to see just how strong you can use it. I will give you back your quirk, now charge up that quirk of yours and give it all you've got and don't disappoint me, Aizawa said a bit irritated. Alright then, but everyone has to stand back some more, Izuku said. Everyone took a few steps back. Push over, Bakugo smirked, which took the attention of some classmates. Izuku began charging his fire in his hands, making a giant fireball. He can generate such a firepower, Aizawa thought looking at it. Izuku then tried to make the giant fireball compressed into a smaller ball and transferred it to his right hand. He took the ball and threw it with all his might. The ball flew up, followed by a spiral of fire. This took the attention of everyone who could see it. But 3 students in special. They remembered the quirk. 2 of them remembered from TV and someone else from up close. Would it really be him? The blonde asked. Maybe we only saw it on TV. What do you think? The black-haired boy asked, looking at the girl. It has to be him, she said. Back at Izuku, he was panting and his clothes got burned from the fire. Sorry for the uniform, normally I can control it more and make the flames more gentle so they don't burn away my clothes, he explained. The monitor Izuku was holding showed he threw the ball for 1,500 kilometers, that was like double the number 2 in class had, but no one could beat Uraraka with her infinity. Well, you exceeded my expectations, Izuku said with a smirk. Alright then it seems you aren't all too bad, you all have some potential to become heroes. Now change back to your school uniform and follow your classes like normal. After that Izuku left. Uraraka, Azui, Kaminari, Kirishima, Momo, Jiro and Ishido ran towards Izuku. Wow Izuku, what was that power? They asked. I just build up my power and released it in one go. The more energy I use the more it drains me though, and it takes some time charge. And if I mess up I can badly burn my arms, so it isn't something I can use yet in a dangerous situation, he explained. After that they all changed and went back to class, although that finished quickly and everyone was allowed back to the dorms. Izuku was beat after using that burst of energy, so he just made himself some food, ate it, and went to bed. The next day would hold a surprise for them. Everyone was waiting in their seats when suddenly the door bursted open and All Might walked in. Alright kids, you all ready? He asked as everyone got excited. I wanted to give you a hero training as a practice match, heroes versus villains. But I changed my mind, he said, looking towards Izuku and Bakugo while remembering the way they handled villains. Instead we will hold a little battle trail in the form of a tournament, one-on-one matches to see how you handle combat, All Might explained. You will all be able to use your costumes we made as well, he said while a wall opened up with some lockers that held their costumes. Izuku will have something like Bakugo's clothes but without the giant gauntlets, and the clothes are more resistant to his fire power while having some defensive braces on his arms where Bakugo's gauntlets are. Everyone changed into their uniform and went to Gym Gamma. Alright, are you all ready? All Might asked. As everyone nodded. All fights went over quick as there were only 4 more people left. Izuku versus Todoroki and Bakugo versus Uraraka. It was Izuku versus Todoroki first. It doesn't matter how strong your flames are, I will beat you with only my right side, Todoroki stated. Fine by me, but it's not my fault if you lose, Izuku said, no amused. Todoroki sent a glacier of ice towards Izuku which totally covered Izuku as he didn't even try to dodge. Slowly the ice was melting as Izuku whistled in amazement. Didn't know you could make such a move with your ice, but sadly that doesn't work on me, Izuku stated. Todoroki got angry and shot more ice while Izuku held out his hand which was now covered by fire. Izuku's fire cancelled out the ice. Damn it, if I can't beat him with just my ice then it means I am too weak. Then my father was right, he thought. You know, I can tell something is holding you back from using that other side of yours, but honestly why are you holding yourself back? I know that ice will eventually freeze your own body and your other side can regulate it with fire, so why not use it? It will make you way stronger, Izuku stated. This fire is from my father, if I use it then it means I need his power, but I reject him and his power, I don't need him, Todoroki stated while sending another glacier of ice against Izuku as Izuku just covered his body in flames which melted the ice. I may not know anything about your situation, but your father and his power are apart from you and your power. You have a similar power to him, sure, but that doesn't mean it's he has his own power and you have yours. The difference between the two of you is how you use it, Izuku explained, which made Todoroki gasp while fire covered his left side. You sure about this? I can't control this side, Todoroki stated. Come at me with 100% power, Izuku said while slowly charging up his fire. Todoroki slowly put up his arm. Thank you, he said before unleashing his fire while Izuku shot a concentrated fireball towards Todoroki. The fireball and Todoroki's fire collided while Izuku's fire slowly broke through Todoroki's flame, but Izuku made it explode before it got too close to Todoroki so he wouldn't do serious damage to him. It knocked him out, however. Izuku wins and goes to the finals. Next match is between Bakugo and Uraraka, he said. Bakugo was standing there with a serious expression. Come on, round face, let's see what you got, he said. Round face, she said, confused. Then she charged at him low to the ground, but Bakugo shot her back with his explosion. She kept trying and trying but was shot back every time. She tried using the rubble as a diversion, but Bakugo saw through it and made a larger explosion to blow away the rubble as well as Uraraka. After that Uraraka fell unconscious and was quickly taken to Recovery Girl. Alright, Bakugo won. Last match will be Izuku versus Bakugo, All Might stated. Let's see what fight you two put on and see how you handle each other, he thought. Izuku and Bakugo were standing in front of each other. You know we haven't had a clear victor so far in our fights, Bakugo grinned. Well, let's change that, shall we? Izuku smirked back. Both took a fighting stance. Start. Bakugo launched towards Izuku and threw an explosion right at him. Hey, that's the first time I see Bakugo make the first move like that. He only countered in other battles so far, Kirishima said. I think he was saving his energy because he knew he would be fighting Izuku, Momo explained. Izuku dodged the explosion and kicked Bakugo in the gut, launching him back towards the other side. Didn't that kick of yours still hurts like crazy, Bakugo smirked. It was now Izuku's time to launch himself at Bakugo, covering his arms in fire, trying to punch Bakugo in the face, but he pushed Izuku's arm away while blasting Izuku in the chest. Both were grinning. Bakugo quickly used his quirk to launch himself towards the air and shot a barrage of explosions towards Izuku, but Izuku tried to stop it as he covered his heel in fire while spinning his foot over the floor, flaming tornado. He yelled while a tornado of fire surrounded him, blocking the explosions. But did you make a technique without me knowing? Bakugo yelled with a smirk. Sure did, Izuku smiled innocently. They are impressive, the class said. You think this is enough a warm-up? Izuku asked. This took Bakugo a bit by surprise. Is he really holding back that much? He asked himself. You are bluffing, aren't you? Bakugo asked. You want to try and see for yourself? Izuku asked as his goofy smile suddenly turned into a serious expression as both his arms and legs were covered in fire. Suddenly Izuku vanished from Bakugo's sight and appeared behind him while kicking Bakugo in the back, then disappearing again. He wasn't bluffing, but I think I can still keep up, he thought. Izuku appeared again and Bakugo tried countering with his explosions, but Izuku managed to dodge. Impressive you can keep up with this speed. Izuku teased. I didn't know you could move this fast, Izuku, Bakugo said. Well, average we are equal, but if we get serious then you overpower me in destructive power since it takes time for me to charge, but I beat you in the speed department, Izuku explained. Well, how about we finish this with one last blow then, Bakugo smirked while pulling up his arm while aiming his gauntlet towards Izuku. I can only sweat so much. This gauntlet stores up all the sweat I don't use, which can make a very destructive force, Bakugo explained. Now charge that fire of yours to the best degree you can handle. I want to see which one's is stronger. My explosion or your fireball, he added. Izuku placed his hands together and charged his flames in his hand, creating a giant fireball, but then concentrated it into a soccer ball-sized ball. You ready? Izuku asked. As Bakugo smirked. Now hold on, kids. That's way too destructive to use in here, especially with your classmates here. All Might said, but at that moment Izuku and Bakugo both used their move, creating a giant explosion which launched both of them towards the opposite wall and fell unconscious from the blow, while All Might shielded all the students. All right, not placing them against each other any, he noted in his mind. But what they all didn't know was that there were 3 people watching in Oswell, since they wanted to know for sure if they suspected correctly. They really are the 2 guys from TV, the blonde said before walking away. Yeah, there is no mistaking it, it's them. It's really Izuku, the girl said, following him together with the black-haired boy. After that, Izuku and Bakugo were taken to Recovery Girl to heal. You two are so reckless, Recovery Girl said after hearing what happened. I know, but we certainly had an amazing fight. Izuku said. We sure as hell did. Bakugo added in. After some time recovering at Recovery Girl's office, they were released and allowed to get back to the dorms. Guess we are still equal if it comes to brute strength, although you can generate it faster than me, Izuku admitted. Yeah, but in overall I think you would have the upper hand on me with that speed of yours, Bakugo admitted. You know I hate to admit it, but at this point you are better, but I will surpass you, that's for sure. Bakugo said, holding out his fist. Sure, but I won't make it easy for you, Izuku said as he fist bumped Bakugo. They slowly got back to the dorm. Once inside, everyone crowded around them. You two are so awesome, they all said. And you are really impressive. Izuku's speed and both of your destructive powers were insane, but what shocked me most was the almost instant reflexes you had. Once the other got in sight, you both almost reacted immediately, they heard. Bakugo and I lived together for years and trained almost every day, so we do have a good amount of fighting experience, and I guess because we fighted so much in training we learned to react immediately, he explained. I have to ask, Azui said. Are you two really brothers? You are nothing alike, I would even say opposite. Bakugo has a crappy attitude with a short temper while you are very kind and gentle. Even while fighting, Bakugo's style was aggressive but you stayed gentle, Azui stated. What did you say about me, you dumb frog? Bakugo said, pissed. Well, it's not surprising, we barely know each other, but we all know you have a shitty personality. Just tells more about you, Kaminari said. Kaminari, do you want to die? Izuku asked, confused about how Bakugo would react to that. Before Bakugo could jump towards Kaminari, Izuku aimed his hand towards Bakugo and concentrated to make him float so he couldn't attack Kaminari. Everyone was shocked at how Izuku knew what Bakugo wanted to do and acted immediately before Bakugo had a chance to move. To answer your question, Azui, we are brothers, but only because his parents adopted me after my parents died in an accident, so we aren't biological brothers, Izuku explained. He is so calm about all this, almost like Bakugo's behavior doesn't bother him, they thought. Put me down, Izuku, I will beat the hell out of him, Bakugo yelled. I know, that's why I am holding you, I want to give Kaminari a head start of a few seconds, Izuku explained. What do you mean head start? I will kill the guy. Bakugo shouted. Yeah, but what would be the fun if you caught him in a second? Izuku joked, which scared Kaminari while the others laughed. Then Izuku saw Mineta perving at the girls again. Hey Bakugo, he said. What? He yelled. While you're at it, take the little pervert too, he said while he slowly dropped Bakugo to the ground, which gave Bakugo a smirk. Both Kaminari and Mineta turned pale as they saw Bakugo slowly getting down to the floor. Bakugo landed and Kaminari with Mineta started to make a run for it while being chased by Bakugo, which made everyone laugh. Suddenly Izuku fell over on the ground and fell asleep. They all got scared and rushed to Izuku. Izuku, what's wrong? They all yelled. Suddenly Bakugo came back with a dumb-looking Kaminari who used his quirk too much and a Mineta face in shock after what he saw from Bakugo. Plus, don't worry, he's just tired. He used a lot of energy against the 𝗕𝗏 earlier and after that even more against me. He's just drained, he will be alright tomorrow, Bakugo stated when he lifted Izuku up and brought him to his room. He laid Izuku on the bed and walked out of the room. 𝗬𝗧𝗏𝗃. You improved a lot. Using such concentrated energy 2 times on one day. Still, you worried everyone, so you better improve even more, Bakugo said in a silent tone before leaving the room. Class 1A was having another training exercise. Izuku went to train in secret as he wanted to try something he had come up with. Meanwhile, everyone was steadily improving. Alright kids, keep training well and try to learn more about your quirk. Next week we will have a disaster training at the facility called USJ in short, Aizawa explained to the class. Meanwhile, Izuku was training somewhere else. He had perfected his new technique and was trying to improve his fighting skills and his fire quirk in general. Suddenly a blonde guy walked up to him, which took him by surprise. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. The blonde said. It's nothing, I just didn't expect someone to be here right now, he said. Say, what do you think about sparring with me? The blonde asked. Sure, but I don't really know you. Also, why do you want to spar with me? Izuku asked. Oh, sorry, my name is Mirio Togata, and I want to spar with you because I got interested in you and your skills. Maybe I can help you improve as well, he explained confidently. Don't worry, it won't be anything serious, he quickly added. Sure, why not? You seem very strong and I have a feeling I can learn a lot from you, Izuku smiled. Alright then, take a stance, Mirio said as he took his own stance. Izuku joined the lead and took his stance as well. Izuku used his fire on his hands and feet. So it seems you won't need to cover your entire body in flames, Mirio said out loud. Not anymore. At first I did, but I can use it like this now, he explained. Suddenly Izuku launched himself at Mirio and was in front of him in an instant, which took Mirio by surprise. Mirio barely managed to block Izuku's punch to the gut. He tried to counterattack, but Izuku was gone from his sight when he felt a kick in his back, which made Mirio fall to the ground a few meters away. I knew that fire made you fast, but your strength is no joke either, Mirio smiled. I can do more than just that. Izuku said while placing his hands together to create a fireball, then shot it at Mirio, who was barely able to dodge. When the fireball hit the ground, it left a small crater. "That's some destructive power you got there," Mirio said. "Now as an idea to improve, create another fireball like that, but don't shoot it," he explained. Izuku did as Mirio said. He created another fireball and held it. "Can you maintain that fireball while using your fire on your hands and legs to fight in combat?" he then asked. Izuku used his quirk on his feet and hands. "Yes, seems so. Why?" he asked. "Absorb that fireball inside your hand. Try using that destructive force in close combat," Mirio explained. Izuku tried absorbing the fireball into one hand and held it. "It takes some concentration and it's hard to maintain, but I am able to do it," he said. "Alright, now use that force and punch the ground. It may seem dumb now, but try it," Mirio said. Izuku then punched the ground, blowing away the ground underneath him, creating a crater. "Alright, now can you also shoot that fire like a flamethrower?" he asked. Izuku was easily able to do this, so that wasn't a problem. "Alright, I heard you will be having a disaster training in 1 week. Let's train this week and achieve 2 things. 1. Being able to channel that destructive power inside your hands faster, and 2. Learning how to channel it during combat, or while avoiding an enemy," Mirio explained. "Wow, Mirio, even after just that little sparring we did, you already found an idea. Thanks a lot. Let's train hard," he said. The week passed by fast. Whenever Izuku and Mirio weren't in class, they were training. And so there was just one day before the disaster training at USJ. "Hey Mirio, can I ask you something?" Izuku asked. "Sure, go ahead," he answered. "What made you interested in me? And why are you helping me so much?" he asked. "Some time ago I was at school with a friend. We saw on the news that a friend of ours was being attacked by villains. We wanted to rush towards that person, but the moment we wanted to head out we saw that some people who were just passing by save our friend. They fought those villains like they were doing it on a daily basis. We owe them for saving our friend. I guess seeing you made me remind that and made me want to help you," Mirio explained. Suddenly a black-haired guy walked up to them. "Hey Mirio, sorry to interrupt, but we have to go," the guy said. "It's alright, thanks Tamaki. By the way, this is Izuku," Mirio said, pointing at Izuku. "Izuku, this is my friend, Tamaki Amajiki," he said. Izuku put out his hand. "Nice to meet you, Tamaki," he said. Tamaki took his hand. Likewise, he smiled. After that, Tamaki and Mirio left. Izuku went back to his dorm, but when he walked away he saw a girl with blue hair run past him towards Mirio and Tamaki. He didn't really see her that well, but one thing took his attention: her blue hair. This reminded him of the girl he and Bakugo saved. "I wonder how she is doing and even where she is," he thought. After that he got to his dorm, had dinner, took a shower and went to bed. The next day, everyone got up early as they were going to the USJ for their disaster training. Izuku was pumped since he had been developing a skill which could help him a lot in battles but also in rescue. The ride was peaceful, but that didn't last as Bakugo got in an argument with some classmates. "Shut up, you dim and extra, Izuku, and I can destroy everyone here," he yelled. "Well, I know I can. I could even give you a thrashing," Izuku joked. "Oh, is that right?" Bakugo said with an evil smirk. "Is that a challenge?" he asked. "If you want to have your butt handed to you, then sure, it's a challenge, but it has to wait till we are back at school," Izuku said, determined. Everyone was shocked at how confident was, but also about Izuku's way of speaking since he seemed so innocent. "So Bakugo, why is it that you can speak normally to Izuku and also without anger, but you shout and curse at us?" Kirishima asked. "Izuku is the only person that is really a threat to me becoming the #1 hero. I don't care about extras," he said. "Well, with that attitude, it's only natural Izuku will become #1. There is no way people want someone with such an attitude as their #1, Azui said. "What did you say, you stupid frog?" he yelled. "Well, we haven't known each other for that long, but everyone here knows how terrible your temper is and how terrible you are. Just shows more about you, I guess," Kaminari said. "I will kill you," Bakugo hissed. Everyone but Bakugo started laughing. Suddenly the bus stopped as they had arrived. They all walked inside in their hero costumes. Inside was a pro hero called 13 waiting for them. "My name is 13, I specialize in disaster training. And this is my facility, As you can see, we have most things you can think of: sinking cruise, burning city, cyclones, she explained. Now let's begin the explanation for today's tray. 13 was cut off as suddenly a black gate appeared in the middle of the facility. Suddenly a horde of villains walked out. Everyone stand back. Those are villains, Aizawa explained as most students backed away in fear. At the gate there were 3 figures. One of them was made from some dark kind of mist, while the man in the middle was covered in hands and just a teenage boy. On the other side of the boy was a strange creature. It had a dark muscled body, a strange beak, and a brain sticking out of his head. Izuku looked at the villains and even saw the villains that attacked them before with the Sludge villain incident. Izuku looked at Bakugo, who was looking at him at the same time. Both nodded. Alright, 13, keep the kids safe. Let someone go for backup. Aizawa was cut off by Izuku and Bakugo cheering in towards the plaza to confront the villains. Izuku, Bakugo, don't. Aizawa shouted, but he was too late as Izuku and Bakugo were already in front of the horde. Let's do this, Bakugo said while holding his fist up next to him. Izuku used his fire on his hands and feet, fist bumped Bakugo and then attacked the villains. Bakugo was throwing some explosions at villains, but created bigger ones underneath him when he was being attacked in a group to keep them at a distance. Izuku was using his quirk for speed and power. He had overwhelming speed. The villains couldn't even react to it and were blown away by his power. The moment some villains did make a move towards Izuku, he just spinned his heel low over the ground. Flaming tornado, he said while a tornado of flames surrounded him, blocking enemy attacks. Izuku casually walked out of the fire towards the villains. He placed some more power in his fire and quickly took care of the villains. Both Izuku and Bakugo had taken care of the weaker villains as a few stronger ones were still standing. Everyone from Class 1A as well as the teachers were amazed by how Izuku and Bakugo were fighting. Now I remember, Aizawa said. They are the same kids who stopped the Sludge villain and those other villains some time ago. Aizawa added. Everyone looked surprised as they all know what had happened back then. After that they made sure Ida would go outside to get help. The mist guy saw that and wanted to stop him. Kurogiri, wait, we might need you here, the man covered in hands said. Alright, then I will stay here by your side, Tomura Shigaraki, Kurogiri said. Now let's see what those 2 kids can do, Tomura said while the stronger villains charged at Izuku and Bakugo. Kurogiri created a warp gate, warping a few behind them. Izuku placed his hand on the ground surrounding him and Bakugo with fire so the villains couldn't reach them. Once the villains stopped, Izuku changed the flames around them and sent them all to the villains in front of him, and the moment the flames behind them dropped, Bakugo charged at the villains, blowing them away. Their teamwork, it's in sync. They know what the other is thinking and what the other will do. It's almost as if they share the same mind, Aizawa explained while being surprised. I doubt even any of the teachers could take those 2 on if they fought together like this, he added. Izuku and Bakugo were standing next to each other while facing Tomura, Kurogiri, and the weird creature. You 2 aren't half bad. I just wish that people like you 2 would have joined us, the League of Villains, Tomura said. Sadly, it's too dangerous to let you 2 live, he added. Nomu, it's your turn, take them out, he said as the Nomu slowly walked towards them. Izuku and Bakugo jumped away just in time as the Nomu had charged towards them for a punch. Bakugo quickly countered by using his explosion on the Nomu, but it had no effect. The Nomu just punched Bakugo in the gut towards the roof. This took everyone by surprise. They knew Bakugo's quirk was strong, so it having no effect was certainly scary and shocked them. Izuku charged more fire in his feet. He then flew up, only using his fire. He flew up and quickly caught Bakugo. Are you alright? Izuku asked. Yeah, but how are you flying without your other quirk? Bakugo asked. I learned how to fly using my fire. It might not be as stable and flexible as my other quirk, but it's much faster, he explained. Izuku then used his other quirk to make Bakugo float. My explosions had no effect. I don't know if your flames will. If they don't, then we have to buy the others some time to get away and for the heroes to arrive, Bakugo explained. I will try and hold that Nomu off. Maybe I can make sure that the mist guy Kurogiri tries to support that Nomu thing. When it does, it creates an opening. Izuku explained. And you want me to take that Kurogiri guy out because his quirk is a pain, right? He answered. Izuku smiled and nodded. Fine, but be careful, Bakugo said. Izuku stopped flying with his quirk but kept the charged fire in his hands and feet. Nomu charged right for him, but Izuku was able to keep up in speed and dodge all of the attacks. Both Izuku and Nomu kept disappearing and appearing from everyone's sight. They all knew that Izuku was fast with his fire but were still amazed that he was able to keep up with the Nomu. "Alright Nomu, time to stop holding back," Tomura said as the Nomu gained a lot of speed. Izuku was now just barely able to dodge. 𝗬𝗁𝗎 tried making a warp gate to make Izuku appear in front of the Nomu, but at that moment Bakugo quickly grabbed 𝗬𝗁𝗎 using his explosion at the defenseless parts of 𝗬𝗁𝗎 to make him unconscious. He then turned towards Tomura and used a big explosion to blow Tomura away. However, this placed a huge strain on Bakugo's arms, which made him almost unable to use his quirk again. Izuku knew about this as he knew almost everything about Bakugo and his quirk, so he knew it was just him and the Nomu now. Izuku used his fire as a flamethrower to see how the Nomu would react to his flames, and instead of taking it head on, the Nomu quickly jumped away, but the fire still burned away some of its flesh. Seems it doesn't have resistance to fire. It might have a lot of speed, strength and defense, but it can't handle fire. I can still burn it, that means I still have a chance, Izuku thought. Nomu charged towards Izuku again. Izuku quickly jumped away, but the Nomu followed and punched Izuku. He wasn't able to dodge, but he did somehow manage to block most of the damage. He crashed in the ground. Nomu landed, grabbed his leg and lifted him up, then smashing Izuku into the ground a few times before throwing him up in the air. Nomu then quickly jumped towards Izuku, thinking of giving the finishing blow. Izuku quickly charged his fire over his entire body and spinned his body, hiding himself inside a fire sphere. The Nomu tried attacking it, but all it did was burn away its flesh. Both Izuku and Nomu landed. Izuku was panting heavily as well as bleeding a lot from the hits he took from Nomu. Izuku was shaking on his legs as he didn't have much power left. He quickly did as he had learned in his training with Mirio and made a fireball, then absorbing it into his hands to increase his power. Izuku quickly charged towards Nomu and gave the Nomu a barrage of strikes. He burned away more flesh from its chest and kicked it in the stomach towards the air. Izuku then flew up with his fire. He placed his hands next to his head, then shot himself towards the Nomu while spinning, surrounded by fire. "Spiral Blaze!" he shouted using his move. Once the move hit the Nomu, launching it away, he quickly launched himself after the Nomu while creating an enormous fireball while quickly shooting it at the Nomu up close, completely burning away the upper body. Izuku had beaten Nomu, but he was exhausted and his arms were burned. He fell to his knees, but once he did, Tomura charged for him, followed by 𝗬𝗁𝗎, who just regained consciousness. Izuku didn't have the strength to move. Bakugo was just in time to kick 𝗬𝗁𝗎 away. Shigaraki kept closing in, but the moment Shigaraki was about to use his quirk on Izuku, the door shot open and gunshots were being heard as Shigaraki was being shot by sniper teacher from UA. Just in time. "Way to make an intrank," Izuku said, looking at all the teachers walking in but then losing consciousness. Tomura and 𝗬𝗁𝗎 quickly retreated as All Might quickly shot himself towards Izuku and Bakugo and brought them outside towards an ambulance to bring them back to UA to see Recovery Girl. Once Izuku woke up, he felt that his arms were in bandages and noticed he was laying on a bed. "Where am I?" he asked. "You are back at UA in my office." He heard. When he looked, he saw it was Recovery Girl. "Oh, alright, thanks," he said, giving a weak smile. "How are you feeling, child?" she asked. "My arms are hurting a little and my body feels heavy, but I will manage," he answered. "Your arms were burned pretty badly. Luckily it wasn't beyond recovery, so the flesh has healed quite nicely. When I used my quirk, it shouldn't even leave a mark," she explained. "But it take a lot of your energy to heal you, and you didn't have much energy left to begin with. But then again, you did save everyone. You did great out there," she said. Izuku smiled. Suddenly his classmates walked inside. Everyone was happy to see Izuku was doing fine. "I should actually be scolding you and Bakugo for your reckless behavior, but I wouldn't even stand a chance against that thing. So thank you for saving everyone in our place," Aizawa said with a grin. "It's alright, it's thanks to Bakugo that I was able to fight for that long. He fought with me and also held off Tomura and 𝗬𝗁𝗎. If he didn't, then it could end up very differently," he explained. After that they talked for a bit and Izuku was allowed to leave and go to the dorm. Once at the dorm, Aizawa had an announcement to make. Since we were attacked by villains, I asked the principal to give you all the remaining 2 days off. We will start training Monday so you guys will be ready for a big event, Izuku explained. Which event are you talking about, sir? Ida asked. The sports festival. The days off school ended in a flash, and so Class 1A was back to their classes and trainings. Izuku met up with Mirio again to train. Hey man, how are you feeling? Mirio asked a bit concerned. I'm alright, the pain stopped and I think I completely healed. Izuku explained. Well, I heard what had happened. I have to admit you were mixed up in something very scary and dangerous, also at the start of your first school year, but I was really impressed when I heard how you fought. Mirio said. Thanks, but if I didn't have all this training with you then I wouldn't be able to use those moves I used on that thing, so it's kinda thanks to you and the training we did that we managed, Izuku explained with a smile. Well, next up is a chance to impress the whole world. The sports festival is coming up. Mirio said. Yeah, that's right, and I heard they will be held separately, so I will definitely be watching yours as well. Izuku said. Instead of training, Mirio and Izuku spent some time catching up. Oh yeah, that reminds me, when you left last time with Tamaki I saw a girl with long blue hair running up towards you guys. Was she the other friend you told me about, you know, the one that was saved from villains? Izuku asked curiously. Yes, she is, he said with a smile. She made me think about someone. I don't remember her name since we didn't really have time to talk, but that friend of yours, her blue hair made me think about that girl again, Izuku said looking towards the sky with a smile. So I was right, Mirio said silently. Izuku heard that Mirio said something but didn't hear what he said. Did you say something? Izuku asked. Oh no, don't worry, it's nothing. I'm sure that girl is thinking about you as well since you saved her. Who knows, maybe you two will see each other again, Mirio lied, knowing who the girl really is. Thanks, Mirio, you became a great friend and a good teacher. Izuku said. Well, glad to help you with developing your skills, and thanks for calling me a friend, Mirio said with a smile. By the way, Izuku started. What is it, bro? He asked. What is your quirk? We sparred a lot for the past time, but I never saw you using your quirk. I was kinda wondering what your quirk is, Izuku explained. That's a good question. We did spar sometimes, but we stopped whenever we had an idea for a new move, and mostly we just tried using a new move you tried mastering, so we didn't really have a real fight yet. Sorry, but I won't reveal my quirk yet. I want to show it sometimes in a real fight and see if you can come up with a strategy to counter. Mirio explained. Well, alright then, but when we do I won't hold back, he answered. I'm counting on you. Mirio then said while starting to laugh. After that, Mirio went back to his dorm while Izuku just laid down on his back staring at the clear blue sky. After some time, Izuku went back to his own dorm. The next day, Izuku thought about how he would be having the same day as usual until someone disrupted his thoughts. On his way to school, Izuku got stopped between other students. Izuku, he heard while he felt a hand on his shoulder. Izuku turned around and saw Bakugo standing there. What's up, Bakugo? He asked. I want you to fight me. Bakugo stated quiet loud, which took the attention of most of the students. They all told their friends about it, so it wasn't long until the entire school heard about it. Are you sure about this? Izuku asked. I know there is a gap between us. That last fight against that thing made Thay very clear. I want to find out for myself just how big that gap is and how strong you are, Bakugo said surprisingly calm. Alright then, let's ask Aizawa for a gym room where we can fight, Izuku answered. Bakugo nodded, and with that they went towards their class. The rumor had already spread to their class, but once anyone wanted to ask them, Aizawa walked in. Alright class, time for class, Aizawa said when he wanted to start. Sorry to interrupt, sir, but we wanted to ask something, Izuku said while he and Bakugo stood up. Sure, what is it? He asked. Can Bakugo and I get permission to fight against each other? Izuku asked, which took Aizawa a bit by surprise. Normally I would decline, but I want to know the reason, he said. I know there is a gap between Izuku and me. The fight against that Nomu thing made it clear, but I want to see for myself how big that gap is. I want to get stronger, Bakugo explained with determination. Everyone was shocked by the fact that Izuku asked to fight, but even more by how Bakugo was so calm and talked without cursing. For this once I will allow it, and out of respect towards the two of you after that fight at the USJ I won't stop you if it gets rougher, It's up to you two to stop the fight when needed. Aizawa explained. Do you want to use your gym uniforms or do you want to use your hero suit? He asked. If we are allowed to, we would like to use our hero suits, Izuku stated. Aizawa nodded. Izuku and Bakugo took their hero suits and went towards Gym Gamma. A lot of students had already heard that they wanted to fight and got interested. Mirio, Tamaki and the blue-haired girl also got interested and were standing in the doorway. Everyone was watching as Izuku and Bakugo were stretching. I never expected that Izuku would ask the teacher to fight someone, Kirishima said. We never expected this either, Ida and Uraraka said. Neither do I trained with him a lot. He was always so gentle, but he didn't seem like the person to ask for a fight, so when I heard about it, I just had to come and watch. Mirio said, walking up to them. Sorry, but who are you? Ida asked. Just a friend of Izuku, he answered with a smile. Don't worry about that now, they are about to start, he added. Izuku and Bakugo took a fighting stance. I won't hold back, Bakugo, Izuku stated. Bakugo surprisingly stayed silent. Izuku channeled his fire in his hands and feet, but strangely waited for Bakugo. Bakugo placed his hands together, concentrated, and then sent a big explosion towards Izuku. Izuku dodged this but saw that Bakugo had already closed the distance and was about to use an explosion up close, but the moment Bakugo was about to land the hit, Izuku vanished from sight. Everyone was amazed by Izuku's speed. Sorry, Bakugo, it won't be that easy to land a hit on me, Izuku said gently but confident. Bakugo sended multiple explosions towards, but Izuku blocked them while his flaming heel spinned low at the ground. Flaming tornado. The tornado blocked the explosions. Izuku and Bakugo both launched themselves up with their quirks and made the same movements. Spiral blaze. Izuku shouted while Bakugo shouted, howitzer impact. The moves collided, causing a huge explosion. Both crashed in opposing walls. They both got out and slowly walked towards each other. Izuku shot a small but extremely fast fireball towards Bakugo. This caught him off guard as he barely managed to block, but that left him open. Izuku closed the distance, gave a barrage of punches on Bakugo's chest, and ended it with a big fireball up close which exploded, launching Bakugo up in the air. Izuku jumped quickly, grabbed Bakugo's leg and threw him towards the ground, creating a small crater underneath him. I think that's enough, Izuku said while panting. Bakugo also panted. Man, you're strong, Bakugo admitted. You are Oswell. The only thing that keeps me ahead is my speed and my way of thinking. You are more flexible with your quirk, but with strength and destructive power we are equal now. Izuku said. Everyone was amazed by their fight. Some were stunned at how Izuku could be so gentle even when fighting like that. Others, their jaw dropped by Bakugo praising someone without cursing and without being angry. Izuku and Bakugo walked towards Aizawa and bowed. Thank you for allowing our fight, they said. It's alright, you both are amazing fighters, with and against each other. That really was a good fight, Aizawa said with a grin. After that, class resumed as normal. Time flew by and it was time for the sports festival. Well, Bakugo, I guess we kinda screwed up now, Izuku laughed awkwardly. Why is that? Bakugo asked. Everyone already knows our quirks and how we use them, he explained. So what? It's not like those demon extras can do a thing to stop us, Bakugo said. Refrain from calling people extras, Ida yelled. Shut up, 4-eyes, he hissed. Everyone was standing in a big arena. There were a lot of spectators and it was also filmed on TV. Midnight explained everything about the sports festival and said there were 2 events. The first was an obstacle course. Everyone got towards the gate and got ready. Before the door opened, Izuku and Bakugo looked towards each other and then towards Todoroki as they knew what he would do. The door opened and Izuku and Bakugo quickly charged out before Todoroki froze everyone solid with his eyes. Only his own class and some students from 1B managed to avoid it and get out. Izuku and Bakugo were running up front without using their quirks, leaving everyone quiet far behind them. They were quickly confronted by their first obstacle. They had to get past the robots from the entrance exam. Izuku lifted them with his other quirk and made them fall down once they got past. Idiot, why are you showing everyone your other quirk, Oswell? Bakugo yelled at him. It's not like it will make a lot of difference, he laughed. Next up was a big cavern they had to cross on small ropes. Izuku used the quirk he got from his mom and just floated right over it while Bakugo used his explosions to fly over. Last up was the minefield. Before they reached it, they noticed that Todoroki had caught up using his eyes. "Sorry guys, time to leave you all in the dust and speed up," Izuku said while charging his flames in his feet. He then used his flames to fly at high speed over the minefield. Bakugo created small strong explosions to fly Oswell, while Todoroki made a field of ice to glide over it while using his fire as a booster. Everyone was amazed by the three runner-ups and how they used their quirks. In the end, Izuku was first, Bakugo second, and Todoroki third. The others arrived not long after them. Midnight was explaining how the last event would be a tournament-like battle, but first she explained that the contestants needed some rest. The crowd went wild as the students went to rest and grab something to eat or just relax in the stands for their respective class. "Man, you three are way too fast to keep up," Kirishima said. "Even I had trouble, and speed is supposed to be my quirk," Iida explained. "And that's why you guys are just a bunch of extras," Bakugo said. "Bakugo, please stop calling our classmates extras," Izuku said. "Fine," he answered. Midnight was about to explain the rules and the matchups for the next round when suddenly a warp appeared in the middle of the stadium. "Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 and I'm from the League of Villains." 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 explained when he showed up. Suddenly 2 more villains showed up. "We are looking for a boy named Izuku. If he would kindly show himself," 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 said. All the pros were on high alert and ready to join in. "We know he might refuse, so I thought I might as well give him a reason to show himself." 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 said. "How do you think your parents died?" 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 asked, knowing Izuku would hear him. Izuku felt a weird sensation in his body, almost like a heartbeat throughout his entire body. "It wasn't an accident like they told you," 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 added. This made his class gasp for air. Bakugo's eyes widened. "In fact, it was us, the League of Villains, who attacked them. Your father's quirk was quite interesting. Sadly, he didn't want to listen to us and wanted to inform the heroes, so we had to get rid of him. Your mother was just a sweet bonus. They tried to get away in their car, but I blew them over while my partner here crushed them," one of the villains explained. Suddenly, a large explosion appeared in the stance while a ball of fire shot towards the middle of the stadium and crashed in the floor. Izuku had showed himself and was standing a couple of meters away from the villains. "Ah, Izuku, what a nice surprise that you are able to join us," 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗪 said. "What did you just say about my parents?" Izuku said while his eyes were hidden behind his hair. "What you didn't hear? Want me to repeat it, you little coward?" The villain provoked. "I bet you are the same gutless coward like that father of yours, making a run for it the moment things get a bit dangerous while only thinking about himself." This made something snap inside Izuku. Everyone heard everything the villain said. Class 1A and the teachers were watching in horror and didn't believe their ears. Mirio and his friends were also overwhelmed by what they heard, but Mirio suddenly turned over to fear as he was concerned about Izuku and what this truth might do to him. Everyone got even more scared when Izuku was slowly being engulfed in flames. The flames were slowly rising from his feet up. Eventually, even his head was covered in flames. The villains could see some red dots where his eyes would be and knew they triggered what they wanted. "Oh, guess you aren't a coward like that little SHT of a father of yours. You are actually ready to die a pathetic death. You know, before my partner crushed them, your mother was begging us to leave you alone. Your father was just crying like a little beach. What a pathetic loser," the villain provoked. Izuku gritted his teeth, then screamed in anger. The heroes wanted to jump in, but Izuku created a wall of fire to keep them all away. "What is he doing?" Mirio, Bakugo, the teachers and Nizu thought at the same time. Izuku took a stance as he was visible to the people again but still engulfed in flames. One who saw his eyes would never believe that this was the same Izuku they knew. His eyes were cold and dark. They were empty except for pure rage. Izuku got back up from his fighting stance and casually walked towards the villains. "Show me what you got. Don't disappoint me like that worthless beach of a father of yours," the villain provoked again. Izuku vanished but left a giant crater. The moment he appeared again was when the villain that provoked him was sent flying inside a wall, coughing up BLD. "Not bad, but that won't stop me," the villain said while shooting an air blast towards Izuku, but it had no effect. Izuku's flames were still there and his body didn't even budge. That's impossible. Your fire should be no match for my wind power. The villain said. Then the partner attacked Izuku with a heavy blow which made Izuku crash into a wall, but he quickly appeared at the same spot again. Is this kid for real? The partner asked. Izuku gave a roundhouse kick towards the stomach, making him launch towards a wall, but before crashing into the wall Izuku kicked him up in the air. Izuku then pummeled the partner. He gave heavy blows to the villain, launching him through the air while reappearing behind him to hit him again at an insane speed. Izuku ended it by giving an elbow to the stomach to stop the villain from flying towards directions. Then gave an overhead kick to the head to launch him towards the ground. The partner crashed into the ground, creating an enormous crater. Izuku then walked up to the villain that provoked him. The villain started shooting air cannons towards him, but it didn't stop Izuku. He casually walked towards the villain. Once he was at the villain, he grabbed the villain's throat and lifted him up. He charged his anger in his right fist, taking away the flames from his body to pour it all in his fist. This is bad. Mirio shouted. That move holds already a lot of forces, but he charged all of his anger in it. This is getting very dangerous for both Izuku and the villain. We have to stop him, Mirio explained. 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏 and the girl quickly rushed down the stairs towards the side of the field. Izuku began punching the villain, who coughed up more blood. After a few heavy bone-breaking blows, he threw the villain towards his partner. Izuku slowly walked up towards the villains, held a hand up in the air, and created a large fireball which just kept growing and growing. Suddenly, even the flames surrounding the field were being pulled in by the fireball as it was growing to an alarming size. SHT, if that hits anyone, that person will die for sure, Aizawa said while running down towards the field. Suddenly he stopped as he saw Mirio and his friends reaching Izuku. Tamaki used his quirk to grab Izuku's arm to keep it up in the air so he wouldn't be able to drop the fireball. Mirio tried calming Izuku down, but he was looking inside empty eyes. Izuku lost all his senses out of anger. It was like he wasn't there anymore. Mirio walked closer to Izuku and pulled him in a bro hug. No 𝗕𝗄𝗄. Izuku, it's enough. You defeated them. There is no reason to continue this. Your friends are here for you, Mirio said. Izuku then got his senses back as the fireball slowly shrunk down, while Izuku got tears in his eyes which were slowly walking down his cheeks. Then the girl showed up in front of him with a concerned look. She was worried about him but felt relief as she saw his eyes changing from empty towards his usual eyes. It's you, was all Izuku was able to say as he held his hand up towards her, but then fell unconscious. In the meantime, Kurogiri had made his escape as the heroes quickly captured the two villains. The girl ran towards Izuku to see if he was alright. After a few seconds, Mirio lifted Izuku on his back and quickly took him towards Recovery Girl. Izuku was taken to Recovery Girl's office while Midnight told everyone that the sports festival will be put on hold for the moment. Mirio arrived with Izuku at Recovery Girl's office, who was already waiting. I was watching it all on the TV. Put him on the bed there, I will examine him, she said. Mirio walked towards the bed, placed Izuku down and stepped back. Class 1A had arrived but were sent away by Recovery Girl because she had to examine Izuku, but he also needed his rest. She wanted to send Mirio and his friends away too but decided not to. The girl was sitting on a chair next to Izuku. Tamaki was on her left and Mirio on her right. Will he be alright? She asked. I think he will, but I don't know how he will be when he wakes up. He used a lot of power and energy while being provoked like that. I never thought we would ever see such a side of him, Recovery Girl said, a bit pale. What are the possibilities for what could happen when he wakes up? She asked. Well, it could be his mind doesn't remember that he was stopped, so he could go out of control the moment he wakes up. If that's the case, then we have to stop him right away. He needs to rest for a bit. If he uses his quirk immediately, then we certainly have a problem. She answered. But it could also be possible that he remembers everything, then I don't know how he will act. Recovery Girl added. They all nodded. Mirio and Tamaki placed a hand on the girl's shoulder to comfort her. By the way, what's your connection with him anyways? Recovery Girl asked the three. Izuku and I trained for a few weeks. I got interested in him, so I wanted to spar, but we ended up improving each other. I helped him with his quirk and he helped me with my fighting style. We became good friends, Mirio explained. I sometimes watched them, and after training joined in to talk. I feel like we are friends as well, Tamaki said. The girl stayed quiet. All right, I understand, recovery girl said, nodding. What about you, child? She said, looking at the girl. He saved my life once. I was captured by a sludge villain and he and his friends saved me. After that more villains showed up, but even while he was fighting he kept constant check on me and kept me safe. I watched Mirio and Izuku every time they trained, but I didn't know what to say to him, so I never spoke to him. I wanted to talk to him after the sports festival, but then this happened. She explained. So it really is him then, Tamaki said. Yeah, he explained the same to me a few days ago. He also told me he was wondering how you were doing and that he thought a lot about that day and you really caught his attention, Mirio explained towards the girl. The girl looked up in surprise. Well, I mostly think about him as well. I wanted to talk to him after he saved me, but he just ran off, because those heroes were running towards them and they said something about their mom being scary. Then I heard Mirio met someone named Izuku with a fire quirk and I just followed them and watched them every time. She explained. But if you never spoke, how do you know he is Izuku and not the other one? Recovery girl asked. Don't get me wrong, this boy is Izuku, the other one was Katsuki Bakugo, but if you never spoke then how can you know, she added. When he ran away, I asked him if he could tell me his name. He stopped running and turned around with a smile, but the moment he stopped he saw that the pro was already close and his friend called him out by his name. She explained. But now things don't really add up, she said. I know what you mean. Mirio said, he never told me about his past, only about him and Bakugo training, but nothing about home or his parents. Mirio explained. Recovery girl, what is Izuku's full name? Tamaki asked. No one knows. I think only Bakugo knows since he knows him from childhood, but he never tells anyone his full name. He only says his name is Izuku, she answered. You want me to answer that? They heard as they turned around to see Bakugo and Class 1A standing there. If you could and want to, recovery girl said. Hey, you are that other guy that saved me. Thank you a lot for that. She said. I mostly moved because I knew Izuku would. Don't get me wrong, even without him I would have acted because that's what a hero does. But if you should thank someone, thank Izuku. He was the one that was actually saving you. I just saw this as a rescue and fighting villains, but he had you on his mind while fighting. He constantly checked if you were alright, he explained. Now to explain, first you guys should leave, Bakugo said, looking at his classmates. You can't expect us to leave. We want to know as well. Uraraka yelled. Hush, keep it down. Recovery girl said in an angry tone. I'm not supposed to talk about it. It's also not really my place to tell anyone this, so if you all want to know then you have to ask him yourself. Now leave, he said, looking pissed. With that the classmates walked away. 𝗓𝗓 used her quirk to listen in but heard Bakugo say. 𝗓𝗓, I know you are listening. You want me to blast that quirk off your head. This scared 𝗓𝗓, who stopped listening and walked away. Right now that's over, he said, walking and looking towards Izuku. You might know about that. Izuku and I are brothers. He asked as they all nodded. That is because my parents adopted him, he explained as everyone was a bit surprised. Izuku and I really aren't anything alike. I admit I am arrogant with a lot of pride, but Izuku is different. He is gentle and thinks mostly of others, he explained. He was told that his parents died in a car accident, but hearing that villain speak just now I know they told him that because it was too cruel to tell him the truth about what happened, he added. So what that villain said was true? The girl asked. I don't know, but that would explain why he wasn't allowed to see his parents before the funeral. He said. So that's it, but why doesn't he tell anyone his full name? Tamaki asked. Because it's too painful. His full name is Izuku Midoriya. We asked him if he wanted our last name when my parents adopted him, but he said no. He is and will always be Izuku Midoriya. After that the three turned pale. Seems you guys know more about this, recovery girl said, looking at the three. Well, we were the ones that were around at the time and had to investigate what had happened. We saw a burning car with people in it, but the state the two people were in were too gruesome to describe. Afterwards we heard the last name of the people, Mr. and Mrs. Midoriya. Mirio explained. I'm glad he was never able to see them like that and remembers them in a good state, Tamaki said. If he did see them like that, I think he would be traumatized after seeing that, he added. So it was that bad, huh? Bakugo said. Izuku slowly woke up now and looked at his arm. It's not burned, he said silently. At first they were confused by that, but then they remembered the enormous fireball he had created at high speed and were also surprised that his arm wasn't burned. "Hello child, how are you feeling?" Recovery Girl asked. Izuku looked at Recovery Girl, then looked towards the ceiling. "So it wasn't a dream, it really happened," he said. Izuku got up slowly as he was shaking a bit. He walked towards a window, totally ignoring Mirio, Tamaki, Bakugo and the girl. Izuku opened the window and was standing at the edge of it. "Izuku, wait." Bakugo tried. "Bakugo, just leave me alone for now," he said before disappearing. He used his quirk to jump away. "He remembers everything," Recovery Girl explained. "He isn't in that anger anymore, but the moment he looked at his arm, I know he remembers everything," she added. Meanwhile, Mirio, Tamaki, Bakugo and the girl were standing at the window looking at the direction Izuku was going. Suddenly the girl floated and flew after him. "Wait!" Bakugo yelled, but Mirio stopped him. "Let her go for now, maybe she can talk to him, let's buy them some time before all the teachers go after them. Who knows, maybe once he gets back we can continue the sports festival," Mirio explained. The girl was searching for Izuku and noticed that Izuku was going towards the graveyard. She saw him land on the ground in front of the gate and slowly walking inside. She walked after him but kept her distance for a while. Izuku stopped in front of a grave. This must be the grave of his parents, she thought. Izuku sat down in front of the grave and started crying. "It wasn't an accident, was it? I found someone today who told me what happened. I always wondered why I could never see you after your deaths, but now it all makes sense," she heard him say. "I miss you so much, Mom, Dad. If I was stronger back then and older, if I just noticed what you were in, I could have helped then. I wouldn't have lost you," he cried. The girl couldn't take it as she flew towards him. When she was directly behind him, she slowly released her quirk, making her land softly, and placed her arms around him. This took Izuku by surprise, but once he looked behind him, he saw the blue-haired girl he had saved crying in his back. "It's Sayu," he said. She opened her eyes, still crying, as she nodded with a weak smile. "I wanted to meet you for so long now. I always watched you and Mirio train, but I never knew what to say. I wanted to talk to you after the sports festival, but then all that happened. Your friend explained everything to his, but please don't be mad at him. I saw you jumping away and I got worried and followed you, but then I heard everything you said and it hurt so much to hear you say all that and to see you cry. I just couldn't stop myself anymore," she rambled. "It's all right." Izuku surprisingly understood everything she said. "I'm not mad at him, and thank you," he said. "Why are you thanking me?" she asked, surprised. "For caring." "And this," he said. She noticed she was still hugging him, so she wanted to take her arms off him, but he quickly laid his hand on hers. She understood he didn't mind and quickly hugged him again. "It's maybe a dumb question, but are you alright?" she asked. "I don't know, I still feel so much anger I'm barely able to control it. I remember everything again from how they told me about the accident, and then what that villain told me," he said while heating up at the last part. The girl tightened her grip around him and laid her head on his shoulder, making her head touch his, which calmed him down. "By the way, how did you know my name and that Mirio was training me?" he asked. The girl closed her eyes while still crying but had a smile on her face. "I asked your name when you saved me and heard your friend call out your name. I remembered it ever since. Then one day Mirio said he was training a boy named Izuku with a fire quirk. I figured it just had to be you, so I watched every day," she said. "I still never was able to thank you for back then, so thank you," she said while kissing his cheek. Izuku started blushing. "No problem, I'm glad you are safe, and glad I get to see you again," he said. "But you told me you wanted to talk after the sports festival, so let's get back so it can continue, that way you can still talk to me after the sports festival," he said. The girl started laughing by his way of thinking. But then she got worried. "Are you sure? Are you in any way to fight?" she asked. "I can manage, I think," he said. They both stood up and Izuku used the quirk he got from his mom to make him and Nijire float. What did you do?" she asked, surprised. "I will explain everything after the sports festival," he said. As they both flew back, Izuku noticed that it was cold in the air, so he generated some heat to keep the girl warm. She noticed this and started laughing. Once they were back at the stadium, they landed at a place without people and slowly walked towards the entrance. The girl stopped him. "Thank you for keeping me warm in the air and good luck." She kissed cheek again, then ran off. Izuku was blushing madly. Not once but twice, he thought. He slowly walked inside and saw Aizawa and the other teachers waiting. He figured they had seen the girl walking in, so they knew he was back. "Are you all right, Izuku?" Nizu asked. "I think so, but I will manage," Izuku said. "Can we continue the sports festival?" he added. This took the teachers by surprise. "We did want to ask you if it was all right and if you were ready for it, but I still want to ask. Are you sure about it?" Midnight asked. "Yes, I am sure," he explained. "All right then," she said with a smile. Midnight walked towards the field, while the teachers went to their stand and Izuku to the stand for his class. Once he got there, he noticed that the field was repaired. His classmates ran towards him while Uraraka, Kirishima, Ashido, Azui, Yaoyorozu and Kaminari gave him a group hug, excited that he was all right. Even Bakugo and Todoroki had a smile on their faces now that Izuku was back. "Thanks guys, I'm sorry for worrying you. Tomorrow in class I will explain everything," he explained. Midnight then spoke up. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, we decided that we are going to continue the sports festival. Now I know most people don't understand this decision, but we talked to all the participants. They all want to continue and we have more pro heroes on standby to jump in if anything happens," she explained. With that, the fight started until the half finale started. Izuku had fought against Ida's speed as well as Azui's technique and quick movements and won. The half finale was about to begin. Izuku versus Todoroki. Bakugo versus Kirishima. Izuku and Todoroki were standing in front of each other. "Don't think you can win from me like last time," Todoroki said, grinning. "I have trained a lot," he added. "Bring it on," Izuku said. "Start." Todoroki sended a glacier of ice towards Izuku. Izuku noticed the ice was a lot thicker than it used to be, so he knew he couldn't stop it like last time. He charged his fire in his hand and slapped the ground, creating a wall of fire to stop the ice. "Not bad, but that's not all I have," Todoroki said as he managed to shoot icicle spears towards Izuku. Izuku charged his fire in his leg and kicked towards the air, creating an air cut from flames which flew towards Todoroki's ice. "Burning cut," he yelled as he used it. The fire melted all the ice, but Todoroki dodged it while freezing the floor towards Izuku, then using his fire as booster to launch himself at Izuku at an incredible speed while trying to use his fire up close on Izuku. It burned off some of Izuku's shirt at his left arm as he barely dodged it. "You certainly have improved. But that's not enough to win yet," Izuku said as he volley kicked Todoroki in the gut, kicking him back to his spot. Izuku then charged fire in his hand and punched in the air. "Fire fist," he said while fire was flying towards Todoroki. He managed to block the fire using his own fire, but he had to use a lot of power to do so. Todoroki was panting. "Man, you are even stronger than before, but I'm not giving up," Todoroki said while he combined his ice and fire. He shot an energy surge of fire and ice circling around each other at Izuku, but he stopped it with his flaming tornado. Once the Tornado disappeared, he slowly raised his hand towards Todoroki. Todoroki was already sending a glacier of ice towards Izuku as he thought it would have catch him off guard directly after the tornado. "Heat wave," Izuku said calmly as suddenly a wave of heat came from his hand, melting all the ice. "You got some new moves it seems," Todoroki said with a smile, but Izuku was acting off and didn't respond but hide his eyes. "This will finish it," Todoroki said while he shot himself up with his left side's fire. He then shot his fire like a flamethrower at Izuku, but Izuku just created a small fireball that cancelled out the fireball without looking. The fireball made his way through Todoroki's flames and grazed him as Todoroki tried to dodge. Todoroki landed 2 steps away from Izuku and quickly used his glacier to trap Izuku in ice. "I win, Izuku," he said. "And the winner is..." Midnight was cut off as the ice broke. Todoroki had dropped his guarding, thinking he had won, so he wasn't able to counter as Izuku had channeled a lot of power and heat in his leg, then kicked Todoroki's legs out from underneath him, then spinned and stretched his leg, kicking him in the gut towards the wall where Todoroki crashed in. Izuku's eyes were dark while doing it, but then he snapped out of it. The only one that noticed his eyes was now unconscious. "The winner is Izuku," Midnight said as everyone cheered. Izuku used his second quirk to make Todoroki float towards the stretcher to get him to Recovery Girl's office. He then went to the spectator's seat for his class. Wow Izuku, that was an intense battle, Uraraka said. But Izuku didn't respond as he just stared at the field looking at Bakugo and Kirishima. Start. Bakugo charged at Kirishima and kept using his explosion at Kirishima. Kirishima just hardened his body and tried to endure it, but the longer he hardened his body the weaker it got, so his plan failed and Bakugo won quite easily. The winner is Bakugo. Midnight shouted again. We will have a little break to give the two finalists some rest, she said. That won't be needed, Bakugo said, looking at Izuku, who was already floating towards the arena. You two want to fight right now? Midnight asked. Bakugo looked in Izuku's eyes and knew something was up. Yes, we will fight right now, he said. Well everyone, it seems there won't be a rest. The finalists decided to fight right now, she shouted, making the crowd excited. Instead of speaking, Izuku and Bakugo were staring at each other. They both are acting weird, Mirio said. What do you mean? Tamaki asked. Izuku has been acting weird ever since he used his flaming tornado, and Bakugo normally talks big before a fight, but he has been standing quietly staring at Izuku. Even before he knew Kirishima had lost, he was staring towards Izuku, Mirio explained. This worried the three. The teachers also noticed this. 𝗫𝗍 then grabbed a phone and made a call. Recovery girl, please stand on standby, he said. This took the others by surprise, but they saw that 𝗫𝗍's face, which normally had a smile on it, turned in a serious frown. He then called Midnight. Don't stop this fight no matter what, he said, and hung up. Midnight was looking towards 𝗫𝗍 with a surprised look, then walked towards 𝗬𝗵𝗲 and told him what 𝗫𝗍 said. None of the teachers understood what 𝗫𝗍 meant, but they listened to his request and wouldn't interfere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let the final match begin, she shouted to make the match start. Izuku gritted his teeth as he charged his fire at his feet and hands. He charged at Bakugo but had sloppy attacks. Everyone was surprised that Izuku made the first move, as he normally only countered attacks and attacked at an opening, but even more surprised by such a sloppy attack. This confirms that something is up, Mirio said while watching. Suddenly 𝗧𝗵𝗲 walked up to them. 𝗫𝗍 told us to not interfere. He seemed bothered by something. He even told Midnight and 𝗬𝗵𝗲 to not interfere no matter what, so something is definitely up, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 explained. The four looked towards the fight in concern as Bakugo pushed Izuku back towards his side without using his quirk. Everyone also noticed how calm Bakugo was and were certainly surprised when Bakugo didn't just blast his opponent away. Let it out, Bakugo said. What? Izuku asked. You're still feeling the anger, right? I noticed it during your fight with 𝗬𝗓𝗏. Let it out. We are going to vent some of that anger out of you. If I beat you like this, it means nothing, because in this state even that diaper boy can beat you, he explained. Izuku understood and let his anger out, which made a lot of heat rise around Izuku. Everyone in the stands and on TV heard their chat. Is this why you didn't want anyone to interfere? Aizawa asked 𝗫𝗍. I figured something was up, and so did Bakugo. If someone can handle Izuku's anger and fight him head on, it's Bakugo. If we don't do this now, Izuku might lose control again. He already had against Todoroki, 𝗫𝗍 explained, which shocked the teachers. Bakugo just stood there while Izuku's power increased. He charged at Bakugo and threw a punch, but Bakugo blocked it out with his explosion, which made Izuku back away. Is that really all you have? Izuku got angrier. Is he purposely provoking Izuku to release his anger? The girl around Mirio and Tamaki asked. Yes, he is, I think. That enormous fireball we saw he generated was the anger he had. He didn't stop his attack back, then he absorbed it back in his body, Mirio explained, which made Tamaki, the girl, and 𝗧𝗵𝗲 gasp. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 quickly called 𝗫𝗍 to inform him about it. 𝗫𝗍 figured a lot about what was being said but would have never thought that the enormous fireball was his anger. He then quickly called Midnight to inform her and call off the match. Midnight gasped when she heard about it and told 𝗬𝗵𝗲 to separate them while she made them asleep with her quirk. Izuku saw the wall rising and blew the wall up with a heavy blow. Bakugo shot an explosion towards Midnight. Don't interfere, he shouted. The entire stadium was silent at what they saw. They knew something was up when 𝗬𝗵𝗲 and Midnight wanted to stop them, but they didn't understand why Bakugo would stop it. Izuku, that finishing move you used back there, bring it out, Bakugo said. Is he insane? Aizawa shouted just loud enough for Bakugo to hear. Izuku slowly raised his hand up but was hesitant as he was fighting his anger. Don't hold back, you have to release everything or you will never lose this anger and keep losing control, he explained. With this, Izuku stopped holding his body back as an enormous fireball appeared above Izuku. Bakugo sended an explosion towards Aizawa as he saw Aizawa getting ready to erase Izuku's quirk. Suddenly the girl flew towards Aizawa. Please trust them on this one. If Izuku doesn't release this energy then he will stay like this. Trust him on this one, I think he has a plan Oswell and it hurts seeing Izuku like this. She explained. Fine then, he said as he looked towards the arena. Bakugo saw this and gave a smirk. Thank you, he said, which the girl and Aizawa heard. Bakugo held one hand up and made a small circle with his other hand, creating an explosion not from my hand but from a single concentrated point, he thought. Suddenly Izuku screamed in a twisted voice like multiple voices had mixed as he launched the fireball at Bakugo. Bakugo waited till the fireball was close as it burned some of his shirt off, then when it was close enough he aimed up at the fireball, AP shot. He shouted while a beam-like explosion was being shot at the fireball. Bakugo kept the power up as he was slowly pushing the fireball up out of the stadium. Suddenly the ball of energy was above the stadium. All Might, use your power, Bakugo shouted as they saw the fireball expanding like it was gonna blow. All Might jumped up towards it in his muscle form. The fireball exploded as All Might used 100% power to blow the blast away with air pressure. Everyone was shocked by the power that fireball held. All Might landed on the field and saw both Izuku and Bakugo panting heavily. Young Bakugo, you did great by taking out his anger and then shooting it up, All Might said. All Might, can you please step back? His anger is out of him but this fight isn't over. One of us still has to win this, Bakugo said with a smirk as he saw Izuku with a face full of sweat panting even harder than him. His eyes had turned back to normal. I doubt either of us has enough power to keep this up much longer, Izuku explained. The crowd was cheering louder than ever. Even all the fears from the students and teachers vanished. The only worry they now had was taking them to Recovery Girl. Both had already pushed the limit but were still fighting. Izuku took a deep breath in and then slowly out. He charged fire at his hands and feet but he was trembling on his feet. He was forcing himself to fight. All Might stepped off the stage as Izuku launched himself at Bakugo. He didn't have his full speed but it was still extremely fast. Fire Fist. He shouted up close but it was blocked by Bakugo's explosion as the explosion from both attacks pushed them both back. This is a new special move I prepared just for you. It might not be as powerful as it is supposed to be right now but it will do the job, Izuku stated while grinning and almost falling over. He regained his stance, raised one hand up above his head and lowered his other hand down to the ground while he concentrated all his fire on his hands. SHT, Bakugo said. Izuku then shouted, Overheat Drive. He shouted as he launched his fire towards Bakugo while moving his arms in half circles to make the fire spin around each other, creating a very powerful flaming tornado towards Bakugo. AP shot. Bakugo tried countering but Bakugo was also at his limit as Izuku's move was slowly pushing his move back. He pushed in more power to bring the clash of moves directly in the middle of the two. The attacks disappeared as a huge explosion could be seen with a huge cloud of dust. As the smoke slowly cleared, Midnight saw who the winner was. And the winner is... After the clash of power between Izuku and Bakugo, a large explosion was seen followed by a large smoke screen. The crowd got silent as they waited in anticipation. All the students as well as the teachers and the rest of the crowd were amazed by how much power Izuku and Bakugo held. Slowly the smoke cleared and everyone was able to see the field again. Izuku was barely standing at the edge of the field, almost falling off the stage. He was panting and his arms were hanging limb down as he was too exhausted to move. It took everything just to stay on his feet and stay conscious. Bakugo had fallen off and had crashed into a wall. The winner is Izuku, Midnight shouted. The crowd began cheering wildly at the amazing battle they saw. After Izuku heard he had won, he smiled and then fell off the stage unconscious. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 walked towards Izuku, slowly picked him up and looked at him with a smile. What insane strength those kids have, he thought as he slowly walked towards Recovery Girl's office, while Bakugo was brought to the office on a stretcher. Mirio and his friends were also walking towards Recovery Girl's office. Although they were mostly holding the girl back as she was worried about Izuku, they didn't blame her, they all were worried about him after all that. Once they reached Recovery Girl's office, they saw that Bakugo was being treated by Recovery Girl and that Izuku was still unconscious with some bandages. Recovery Girl noticed them walking in. "If you promise me to be silent and let him rest, then you can stay, otherwise I have to ask you to leave," she said. All three of them nodded, as they took a chair and sat at Izuku's side. After some time, Izuku slowly opened his eyes. They were all happy to see he was doing all right. "Oh hey guys, didn't know you were here," he said with a weak smile. "So who won?" he then asked. "Wait, you don't remember?" Tamaki asked, surprised. "Not really, I know about the clash of energy and then I tired using all of my power and energy to stay on the field, but I can't remember if I succeeded in that or failed," he explained. "You won, you were barely in." "Bakugo had crashed into a wall," Mirio said. "But that was some fight." "You two were amazing," he added, excited. "Thanks, although I remember only half of it. I don't know what happened when I let out my anger," Izuku explained while looking towards the ceiling. "Yeah, that was scary seeing you like that," Mirio explained as everyone nodded in agreement. "By the way, I never got to ask, but what's your name?" Izuku asked, looking at the girl. She began blushing as she remembered how she hugged him and kissed his cheek twice without even telling him her name. Mirio and Tamaki noticed this and looked at each other confused. "My name is 𝗕𝗫𝗁, she said while holding out her hand. "Sorry, I'm not able to give you a hand at the moment," he said, a bit embarrassed. "What do you mean?" she asked, confused. "I can't move my body at all, I can't even move my finger," he laughed awkwardly. "Moving my head and speaking is all I can do right now, sorry," he said. "It's all right, I understand," she said with a smile. She leaned towards him and kissed his forehead. Izuku began blushing madly, as even Mirio and Tamaki were surprised. She looked away blushing. "That's for winning the sports festival after everything that happened," he said. "Nijire, you low." Mirio started as Nijire placed her hand in front of Mirio's face while charging her quirk. "You sure you want to finish that?" she asked, embarrassed. Tamaki began laughing. "Mirio, Nijire, can I ask you two a question?" Izuku asked. "Sure, go ahead," Mirio said as Nijire nodded. "Mirio, why and how did you become interested in me all of a sudden? When we met, you suddenly wanted to spar with me and told me you were interested in me and my power, but we had never met before." Izuku said. "I became interested in you after you saved Nijire," Mirio answered. This took Izuku by surprise. "We saw everything happen on the TV. The moment we wanted to rush towards the city to help Nijire, we saw you and Bakugo running up to the villain rescuing Nijire. You even protected her while being surrounded by villains. Your strength and speed were amazing, but what amazed me more was how gentle you were towards Nijire while being in a fight with villains," Mirio explained. "Oh, alright, that brings me to my question for Nijire. How did you get in that situation anyways?" he asked. "On my way to school, I saw a group of villains attacking someone in the alleyway, or so I thought. It was all a way to get me there while the Sludge villain took me by surprise and tried to take over my body and quirk," she explained. "You know how the rest went, pros that couldn't do a thing, then you two showing up," she said. "So what are your quirks?" "I know Mirio won't tell me since he wants to show it to me sometimes in a real fight, but what about you and Tamaki?" he asked. "Well, my quirk is Surge. I can use my energy to make myself float as well as shoot energy blasts, but they make a twist in a sickle towards my opponent which slows them down," she explained. "My quirk lets me transform body parts in whatever I eat that day. For example, if I eat a swordfish, I can turn my arm in the sword-like nose of a swordfish. If I eat sushi or anything, I can make tentacles," he said as he showed it. "Those are amazing quirks," he said, fanboying a bit. "What is your quirk exactly?" "We saw it in action, but we can't quite place a hold on what it is," Tamaki explained. "Well, actually I have two quirks. They don't really have a name, but they are morphed or improved versions of my parents' their quirks," he explained. "What do you mean by that?" Nijire asked as her curiosity took over. "My mom could make small light objects float towards her, but I can use my quirk to make myself and or two others float. Making myself float just needs a bit of concentration, but to make others float I have to aim my hands at them, and everywhere my hand goes they will go as well. I haven't managed to control it without yet," he explained. "Wow, that's so cool. How much can you lift like that?" Is it hard to lift others? How do you keep others in the air? How do you combine it if you also have to make yourself float? And what is that fire quirk? Is there an amount of heat you can negate on your body? Can you heat your own body a little or only fully on fire with it? Nijire asked, curious. Nijire slowed down. Sorry Izuku, she is always like this when she gets curious, Tamaki said. It's alright. Well, to answer all of it, I don't know how much I can really lift, as I could even lift the robots from the entrance exam, so I guess I can lift a lot. It's not really hard to lift others, just concentrate my quirk on my hand towards the person or object I want to lift. I keep them in the air by constantly using my quirk and energy, but the heavier an object or person is, the more energy it takes out of me. Making myself float is easy if I just activate that quirk, he explained about his first set of questions about his first quirk. I indeed have a fire quirk, which is a different version from my father's quirk. He was able to breath fire, although I can use fire and generate it from everywhere except my mouth. I can use my fire to boost my speed and power, or I can use them for long distance as well as defense. The heat I can negate really depends on the rate I increase the heat. Mostly if I create a large fireball, it takes some time to charge, because if I do it too fast my skin will burn, but I have a pretty high resistance to heat and it keeps increasing the more I learn how to control my quirk, he explained. And last, to answer your question, if I can control my quirk to regulate the heat in my body, lay your hand on my arm, he said as he slowly was able to move his arm over the sheets. Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire all laid a hand on his arm. Suddenly Recovery Girl joined and did the same, as Izuku was surprised. I'm sorry, I am interested Oswell, she explained. It's alright, Izuku said with a smile. Izuku slowly started to raise his body heat in his arm. Suddenly Nijire was surprised, but he saw she was thinking. Then she looked at him and placed a hand in his neck. Oh wow, you can even control which part to heat up, she said, excited. Really? Recovery Girl asked as she climbed on the bed and also felt in his neck. It's true that some control you got there, kiddo, she said. Sorry to be selfish right now, but if I ever have a patient whose body is undercooled, can I ask your assistance to warm him up? She asked. Sure, it's fine with me. This really doesn't take much for me to control, and if I can help someone with it, then sure, he answered with a smile. Oh, that reminds me, Nijire started. When you made me float back to the stadium, at first it was chilly in the air, but once you noticed it I got really warm. What did you? She asked, but then she remembered his heat wave attack. No way, she then said. I see you figured out the answer to your question yourself, he said with a smile. Does that mean you can even control and generate the heat from a distance? Recovery Girl asked. I think so. I used it once in the air to warm up Nijire when I made her float back here, but that honestly was the first time. I used it as an attack against Todoroki earlier to melt his attack, he explained. Nijire suddenly walked away towards the wall. Alright, my body is cold right now, right? Nijire asked as Recovery Girl felt her hand and felt it was indeed cold. She remembered how cold and nodded. Alright Izuku, use it on me again, she said. Izuku lifted his arm, but it was shaking, so Mirio supported Izuku's arm. Thanks, he said. Mirio just smiled. Izuku then started to generate heat from his hand towards Nijire. As she slowly warmed up, Recovery Girl walked back to Nijire and felt her hand, as it indeed was a lot warmer than before. You certainly have amazing control over your quirk, child, Recovery Girl said. I can do more though, he said as he held his hand up and created a small fireball in his hand, then slowly shot it towards Nijire. Everyone was surprised he did this, but before the fireball reached her it stopped. The fireball was flying through the room in strange ways. Then noticed the fireball moved exactly like Izuku wanted it to. So you can even combine them? Mirio asked. Yeah, I can control the flames, I can control the intensity with my fire quirk, and the movements and size with my other quirk, Izuku explained. Does it work on other fire as well? Tamaki asked. To be honest, I have never tried that, Izuku said while thinking. Now that we are on the subject, that move you pulled against those villains, what was that? Mirio. What do you mean? Izuku asked, confused. When you created that large fireball to finish off the villains before we stopped you, you absorbed the flames around you, Mirio explained. So that's what happened to the flames, Izuku explained. I saw the flames disappearing, but I never figured where they went. But seems that happened, he said. Izuku slowly got up. My god, my body feels sore, he groaned. What did you expect? In that angry state you already pushed your limit, and even then you fought Bakugo with such intense power. Recovery girl. Especially that last move, that was so intense. The move Bakugo used was able to push away that fireball, but that last move of yours was able to push back his a little before the moves exploded. Nijire explained. Well, it was weaker than it should have been, Izuku stated bluntly. This surprised everyone. You crazy bastard, was heard as Bakugo slowly got up. You mean that attack wasn't even your full power? He asked. No, I couldn't bring my full power out after everything, Izuku explained. You know you are becoming quiet the monster with that power of yours, Bakugo grinned. But I won't let you beat me again next time you hear. He added. Sure, I will accept your challenge again next time, 𝗬𝗃. Izuku stated. Then Nijire slapped the back of his head. Ouch, what was that for? He asked. Seriously. First you worry everyone to death and then while in at the nursery you are picking a fight. She explained as everyone started laughing. Well guys, I think that's enough for now. Could you please leave and give those two a bit of rest? Recovery girl asked. Nijire, Mirio and Tamaki nodded and slowly walked off after saying bye. Izuku smiled and waved at them then laid back down. So when are you finally going to grow those ball of yours? Bakugo asked after Recovery girl also left. What do you mean? He asked. That girl Nijire, she obviously likes you, Bakugo stated. When did you become an expert about seeing others their feelings? Izuku joked. I'm not an expert on it but it's just very obvious. She didn't kiss your forehead for nothing. The surprised and confused expressions on the other two their faces explained that too, Bakugo explained. So you were awake for that long? Izuku asked. Just ask her out, damn it, Bakugo sighed. Maybe I will sometime, he sighed back. At this moment I am still not strong enough to accept such things. I just learned the truth about my parents which I loved with all my heart. What if, once I accept her feelings I lose her 𝗬𝗃, Izuku stated. Then you just have to become stronger to protect her from everything. That can be your reason to get stronger. My reason is because I want to be number one and I want to beat you. Your reason can be to be able to protect her, 𝗬𝗃 as being my rival for being number one. Bakugo explained. I guess you are right. He said. After a few hours class 1A came to see Izuku and Bakugo. Hey guys, how are you doing? Kaminari asked. We're doing all right, Izuku said, who was now able to move his body again but it still felt very heavy. You really worried us, you know, Kirishima said towards Izuku. And you 𝗬𝗃 with the way you acted, he said now towards Bakugo. If I didn't then he would have held on to that anger and maybe it would have even taken over him until he got his revenge. Bakugo stated. By the way Izuku, can you tell us? Uraraka asked. Yeah, I told you that I would explain everything. My parents died when I was just 4. They told me it was in car accident. I was never able to say goodbye to my parents but Bakugo and his parents adopted me. That's how Bakugo and I became brothers. But then those villains said all those things about how they killed my parents. And honestly I can't really say I'm shocked by the fact that their deaths weren't an accident but a villain attack. Sure it hurts a lot, but their words explained a lot. And it also explained why I wasn't able to see my parents when they died. Izuku explained. My full name is Izuku Midoriya, he said. I just never tell people my full name because of the painful memories I get once I tell them my last name, he added. They all looked with sadness towards Izuku. We're sorry to hear that Izuku, but thank you for telling us, Uraraka said. Yeah, you are still our Izuku no matter what, Azui stated. Azui. Call me Tsu, she cut him off. So thank you but that was way too straightforward and uncomfortable, Izuku said laughing awkwardly. That's just how I am, she smiled. It also explains why Bakugo is nice towards you but trash towards us, Azui said. What did you say about me, you dirty frog? He hissed. Guess the way he acts isn't the only thing trash about him. He certainly pisses off fast. Kaminari stated. Kaminari, I like you as a friend, but once we can move again you should run. Izuku said with a smile. Why? He asked as he felt an evil glare from Bakugo. Because I'm not going to stop him this time, Izuku stated, which scared Kaminari. Please Izuku save me, he almost cried. Nope, you brought it upon yourself this time. Izuku laughed. After that, Izuku and Bakugo were released from Recovery Girl's care but had to take it easy for a while. Time flew by as Izuku hung out with Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki a lot, and also trained with Mirio and sometimes with Nijire and Tamaki. He trained close combat with Mirio as well as long-ranged with Nijire and even becoming more flexible by avoiding Tamaki. A few months passed quickly with nothing really happening, until Aizawa ended class with an announcement. Alright class, the summer vacation will start next week, but we can't slack off. We are going to train to improve your quirks so we can get ready for the provisional license exam. So next week, we are going on a training camp. Aizawa explained. Izuku and his class had a week to prepare for the summer camp they were going. Izuku sometimes trained with Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire and other times just hung out with them, although he also hung out a lot with his classmates. Izuku was training with Mirio and his friends. Izuku had created a tight bond with them as they became really good friends, although Mirio and Tamaki felt like there was more between Izuku and Nijire. While training, Izuku thought about the conversation he had with Bakugo after the sports festival, which made him very motivated. He really pushed himself to the limit. After the training, he sat against a tree as he panted heavily. Are you okay, Izuku? Mirio asked. Yeah, you pushed yourself even more than usual, Tamaki added. Yeah, I'm alright, I just need a little break, he panted. He closed his eyes and drifted off for a bit. I never saw him this motivated in all the time I trained with him. Something definitely changed after the sports festival, Mirio said as he looked at Izuku. Well, I'm gonna grab us some drinks, Tamaki said as he walked away. Nijire sat next to Izuku as she kept glancing towards him. Nijire will grab some drinks, we'll be right back. Mirio said to her. Sure, alright, I will stay with Izuku, she answered with a smile. Mirio and Tamaki grabbed some drinks and a few minutes later were back with Nijire and Izuku. Once they arrived, they noticed that Izuku was laying against Nijire. Both of them were sleeping with their heads against each other's. Mirio and Tamaki smiled when they saw this and decided to let them sleep a bit longer as they sat down at the tree next to theirs. After some time, Nijire woke up and noticed that she and Izuku were sleeping against each other, which made her blush, and out of surprise she jumped up and away from Izuku, which made him fall on the ground and wake up. Oh, I'm sorry, Izuku, she quickly said as she helped him up. So you two lovebirds finally awake. Mirio joked, which made Nijire blush even more. Izuku didn't understand what he meant as he hadn't noticed how he slept against Nijire. So you still want to train? Or do you want to call it a day? Mirio asked. I want to train some more. I have an idea in my head and I want to see if I can make it work, Izuku stated. Mirio smiled as he knew Izuku would always be pushing himself. With that, the four kept training some more until it was time for dinner, and they all went their separate ways. The week passed by quickly as Izuku mostly trained together with Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire. It was one last day before the summer camp and they decided to take a day from training. Instead, they went to the city just to hang out, maybe do some shopping as well. Izuku was forced to go with Nijire as she went looking for clothes. Mirio and Tamaki felt bad for him as normally they had to go with her, but they had each other as support while Izuku was on his own there. She tried outfit after outfit and Izuku had to rate them all. After a few hours, Nijire decided she had enough clothes and went to look for Mirio and Tamaki together with Izuku. While walking, she leaned against Izuku. You know, even though I only made you rate my clothes, I still hope you had a bit of a good time while spending time with me, she said, a bit blushing. Watching a beautiful girl in different set of clothes. That wasn't so bad. Sure, there were many outfits, but you looked good in all of them, Izuku said with a smile. What I mean is I didn't mind really, it was actually kind of fun, he said as innocent as ever. This made Nijire heat up, blush even more and placing her arm around his. After a bit of walking, they finally found Mirio and Tamaki who were waiting at a terrace waiting for them with some drinks. Ah, there you are, Mirio said as he looked towards the two and noticed how Nijire had her arm around his and how she leaned against him. About time. Took you guys long enough. Mirio said. Izuku didn't know if Mirio meant about the shopping or how they were walking but just smiled it away. They decided to also grab a bite to eat. Well, take whatever you like. It's my treat. Izuku said. The three were hesitant at first but still accepted it and ordered their food. I don't know much about Japanese food, so just think of something. Sorry guys. After they ate, Izuku paid for the food and the drinks, then slowly walked back towards UA. Today was actually kind of fun, Izuku stated as the other three smiled at him. Glad you had fun, Tamaki said. Yeah, but now you guys have to miss me for a week, Izuku joked. Yeah, and I doubt someone can wait for you that long, Mirio joked as he secretly looked towards Nijire, who began blushing. I heard you all will be leaving quiet early, right? Tamaki asked. Yeah, we will be going before normal school would have started. Not too happy about that, Izuku sighed. Don't worry, the week will be over before you know it, Mirio said. Nijire was surprisingly quiet. What's up, Nijire? Why are you so quiet all of a sudden? Mirio asked. I'm worried, she said, which made them all stop walking close before the gates. Or you? Why, what's wrong? Izuku asked. Well, you are going to a summer camp which is far away from all of us and the city, even though the League of Villains had set their sights on you personally, she stated, looking at Izuku. That's true. I can understand how she feels, Tamaki said. Guys, don't worry, I will be fine. Izuku said, I still have Aizawa and Bakugo around me and my classmates. He added. They all nodded with a weak smile. Izuku knew he couldn't take their worries away. Well, good luck on your training camp, Mirio said. We'll see you in a week, Nijire added as they walked away. Izuku wanted to walk back to his dorm as well when suddenly he was stopped by Tamaki. What's wrong, Tamaki? He asked. If anything happens, no matter what happens, come back alive, Tamaki said. You are our friend, the three of us are like family and you joined that family, that's why we are worried about you. And Nijire, well, she feels more for you than anyone else, so be careful no matter what happens, Tamaki said. Izuku had a serious expression and nodded. I will, thanks Tamaki, he said as both of them walked off. The next morning Izuku and his class were in the bus towards their training camp, but stopped somewhere at the side of the road. They had sight over a big forest, when suddenly the wild pussycats showed up. So these are your new students, Eraserhead, Mandalay said. It's a surprise you didn't expel anyone this year, she whispered towards him. That was all he said to that. Listen up, you guys, 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗆 started. Our camp is in the middle of the forest there. She pointed towards the open spot in the forest. You will have to get through the forest while fighting off a bunch of monsters I created, she said with an evil smile. If you hurry now, you can make it before sun sets, Mandalay said. Most of the class wanted to run back towards the bus, but Izuku made a wall of flames to stop them. We wanted to become heroes, right? Instead of crying like little kids and trying to get on the bus, we should face this head-on. This is just a warm-up for the real training, Izuku said while his eyes were covered. He walked towards the edge of the cliff they were standing at and jumped off. Everyone, including Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁, except for Bakugo, were surprised by Izuku. Bakugo just smiled at him proudly and joined him. Mandalay then looked towards Aizawa, who was surprised as well. I see, it's the first time he has been like this, Mandalay asked him. Yeah. Normally he's very shy and that holds him back, but this is the first I heard him talk like that and act that way. Something must have changed after that, Aizawa explained. You mean the sports festival? 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗆 asked. We heard what those villains said and what happened to him. We also know how he was in the fight against his friend, she said. Yeah, luckily everything worked out. That kid has an amazing power and works perfectly with his friend Bakugo. But that fight, Bakugo was lucky enough to gather enough strength to blast that fire away. Even so, Izuku tries to become stronger, although I haven't found out why. Sure, every hero wants to keep improving, but Izuku pushes himself more than he should, Aizawa explained. Izuku and Bakugo were in the woods while the others were watching at the edge of the cliff. 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗆 wanted to push them off to join them, when suddenly her glasses lighted up. She was holding taps on her monster and how everyone was doing, but the glasses showed that a powerful power was being charged. When Mandalay wanted to ask what was wrong, a giant pillar of fire showed up which shocked Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁. I have never seen such a move, it holds so much power in it. Just how strong has this kid become? Aizawa said out loud. It doesn't just look powerful, it actually is. I can see a huge power output down there, 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗆 said. Suddenly the classmates jumped down and joined them. Once they jumped down, an explosion was being heard, followed by more fire above the trees. Well, at least those two are motivated, Mandalay smiled as she walked back to her car. Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁 made their way towards the camp, but once they had arrived, Izuku and Bakugo were already there, and a few moments later the rest of the class showed up without a scratch. "Wait, how is it that you two are already here and you guys don't have a scratch on you?" 𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗏 asked. "Did you manage to evade all my monsters?" she asked. "We already destroyed all of them," Izuku said with an innocent smile. 𝗵𝗃𝗁 was a bit confused by Izuku. He was pretty intense back at the cliff and had displayed such power, yet he was so innocent, calm and gentle right now. She kept staring at Izuku. He noticed this and looked at her a bit confused, but they both kept staring until 𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗏 joined in between them. "You really displayed a lot of power, you 𝗬𝗬," she said, looking towards Izuku and Bakugo. "We aim to become #1 hero, but also the #1 duo," Bakugo stated. "We haven't found anyone so far who could beat the two of us together, and while we fight that way together we also compete against each other to become stronger and become #1, he explained. "Although we both also have another reason for wanting to become stronger. For me that is because I hate to admit that someone is stronger than me, so I will become the strongest there is." Izuku also his own reason for wanting to become stronger, Bakugo added. Izuku just stood up and walked off. Bakugo knew he actually said too much and that it was still hard for Izuku to talk about. "If you want to relax, we have some hot springs here where you can relax," 𝗵𝗃𝗁 said as she explained where they were. Izuku nodded, "Thanks," then walked off. "He really is acting strange," Kirishima said. "Shut up, spiky hair," Bakugo said, annoyed. "We all know how he must feel after all that," Bakugo said. "Bakugo, could you tell me more about him?" 𝗵𝗃𝗁 asked. "What do you want to know?" he asked, surprisingly calm. "What happened to him, and why he wants to become strong so badly, and also about his quirk," she said. "I can't tell you a whole lot about his quirk, only what he told me and showed me, but I have a feeling we haven't seen everything from his quirk. As for your other questions, his parents died when he was 4, they told him it was an accident but never allowed him to see them. As you heard at the sports festival, that wasn't an accident at all and he lost control of his anger. His anger had taken over, he wants to become stronger, so he won't lose anyone anymore, like he lost his parents." Normally Izuku is pretty calm, kind and gentle, and he still is, but at some times he becomes like this or like up on the cliff. He's been like this ever since he learned the truth about his parents, Bakugo explained. "I see, thanks for explaining," she said. Bakugo only nodded. The wild pussycats were starting to prepare dinner while Class 1A went to the hot springs to relax. Minato was standing at the wall which separate the girls from the boys and wanted to climb it. Halfway up Izuku yelled at him, "You sure you want to continue climbing?" This made Minato stop. "Walls are there to be overcome," he shouted back. "Oh yeah, even walls that are on fire." Izuku opened an eye. Minato started sweating and slowly climbed down. Izuku stood up and walked away. "If I hear anything about you going up there again, then you will feel just how warm my flames can get," Izuku threatened, which scared Minato. Izuku dried his body and put his clothes on, then walked outside. He walked through the forest and found a hill where he could watch over the entire forest. "You know you don't have to follow me in secret," he stated. Suddenly 𝗵𝗃𝗁 walked up to him. "Sorry, I didn't know you already noticed me. I was a bit worried after earlier," she said. "Your friend explained everything that happened," she added, but Izuku didn't say anything. "Why are you holding it all in?" she asked, which took him a bit by surprise. "You can always ask your friends for help, and I'm sure there are a lot of people you can talk to about it," she added while sitting next to him. "What's the point of talking about it to someone who doesn't know how it feels?" he said. "Well, you can talk to me about it," she said. Izuku just kept quiet. "It's not my parents though, more like my sister and her husband who were killed by a villain," she said. Izuku looked towards 𝗵𝗃𝗁 and saw that she was sad as well. "What happened?" he asked. "There was a villain attack by the villain called Muscular. My sister and her husband tried to stop him, but he was too strong. In the end they sacrificed themselves. They managed to inflict a grave wound which made him retreat, but in the end, my sister and her husband had both lost their life," she explained. "I know it's different from yours. You were 4 when it happened and your parents no less. You had to endure a lot even against those villains, but still I can still understand even a bit of the pain you are feeling," she explained. "Will it ever go away, the pain and sadness?" Izuku asked. Sadly it won't, but at some point you start accepting what happened and learn how to live with it, she said as she began tearing up. Izuku started tearing up as well. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 placed an arm around him and gave him a hug. You don't have to hold it in, you are still young, and even so, heroes also cry at some time, every human does, she said. Izuku just let it all out. After some time 𝗵𝗃𝗍's phone rang as 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗆 asked where she was and if she had seen Izuku, who was gone for some time now. She explained that she was with him but left out everything they talked about. Shall we get back? Everyone is worried about you, 𝗵𝗃𝗍 said while standing up. Izuku nodded. Thank you, he said silently. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 was confused at first but then figured out what he meant, then gave a smile. It's not a problem, you helped me well, she said while slowly walking back to camp. How did I help you? He asked. I had the same thought as you. I also had no one I could talk with about what happened, but I could with you since you experienced something similar, she explained. After that they slowly talked more and more. Izuku had gotten used to talk with 𝗵𝗃𝗍 about what was bothering him. They also helped each other with stuff, and 𝗵𝗃𝗍 could also talk to him about things that were bothering him. A few days of hardcore training had passed and everyone was laying in bed when suddenly Izuku had a very bad feeling. He jumped out of bed and ran outside, waking his classmates, Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁. Izuku was standing in front of the building as he looked around, when suddenly he saw the forest on fire. Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁 ran outside. Izuku, what's wrong? 𝗵𝗃𝗍 asked. We are under attack, Izuku stated as he flew up in the air to look. Izuku then slowly landed looking pale. What did you see? Aizawa asked. We are surrounded by blue flames. Izuku said. Suddenly 5 villains showed up. The villains were called 𝗕𝗵𝗍, 𝗬𝗬, 𝗫𝗫, 𝗫𝗫r and 𝗬𝗧. Suddenly Aizawa's emergency phone rang. Sorry Nizu, this isn't a good time to call, Aizawa said but was shocked at what he had heard. He put his phone away while a bit of panic showed on his face. What's wrong, Eraserhead? She asked when suddenly Izuku created a wall of flames around his classmates, teacher and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁. Izuku charged aggressively at the villains. He quickly knocked 𝗬𝗧 and 𝗬𝗬 unconscious, but 𝗕𝗵𝗍, 𝗫𝗫r and 𝗫𝗫 were able to avoid Izuku's attack as they surrounded him. Aizawa quickly explained to everyone what happened. UA is under attack well. They even used knockout gas at the teacher's dorm. Only Snipe and 𝗵𝗃𝗁 weren't affected meanwhile. The kids are trying to hold the villains off, he explained while everyone gasped. And looking at how Izuku charged in, he figured that out well. Aizawa said, we have to take over this fight and let him go back to you, Bakugo said. Izuku is the only person who is strong enough to take many villains on himself and still win. He can turn it towards our favor there. Bakugo explained. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 used her telepathy and explained the situation to Izuku. He already had an idea about UA being under attack, but when he heard the full story he became more aggressive. Go to, we will handle this fight. I think they are here to stall you, she said to him. Izuku looked towards her then nodded. When he tried flying up, 𝗕𝗵𝗍 showed his flames at him, but strangely Izuku stopped the flames in front of him. He then placed his arm up. Izuku was pissed and charged his fire in 𝗕𝗵𝗍's flame. Strangely the fire from the entire forest as well as his own were slowly absorbed by the attack, as a giant fireball was created. He quickly shot it towards the villains, but the moment the attack was to reach them, Kurogiri showed up quickly, creating warp gates, making the villains escape. He quickly stopped his fireball and absorbed it in his body as it was his own flames to begin with, apart from 𝗕𝗵𝗍's flames who were taken over by his own flames. Quick! Go to UA, you must hurry, 𝗵𝗃𝗍 said to him using her quirk. Izuku used the absorb power as a booster to fly as fast as he could towards UA. The bus trip towards the camp was 2 hours, but he made it back in just a few minutes. Once he reached UA, he saw smoke coming from the school. While students were fighting villains, the villains had surrounded the heroes in training. The students had made a circle surrounding the wounded. 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗁 made a small wall surrounding them for extra defense while Recovery Girl was trying to heal them out of danger. Izuku just got angrier with everything he saw as he quickly landed with a lot of force, creating a small crater from the speed he used. This took their attention. Izuku, what are you doing here? 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗁 asked. Getting rid of those villains, Aizawa explained what had happened, so I quickly came over. I could have been here sooner, but we were under attack as well. He explained. I noticed that Bakugo was on his way as well, but it will take a bit for him to get here, so for now, I'm the backup, Izuku said, looking seriously. The villains quickly charged him as he just used his flames on the ground, which made their way to the villains. Scorching pillar, he said silently as a pillar of fire showed up, knocking out some villains. Finally someone who seems like a worthy challenge, a villain said while slowly walking up to him while being covered in muscle veins. Those losers weren't much of a problem, the villain said as he threw Tamaki, Snipe and some other students on the ground. Tamaki! Izuku shouted. You bastard, you will pay for this. He said while he was thinking about what might have happened with Mirio and Nijire. Suddenly Mirio showed up in front of the villain, grabbing the wounded and ran towards the bigger group. Nijire covered him with her quirk. Both of them were wounded and bleeding a bit. Izuku, what are you doing here? She asked in confusion. We were under a villain attack as well. Nizu called Aizawa and explained the situation here, so I hurried over. After that, 3 gates opened up around him, showing Dabi, Magna and Spinner. Did you really think you got rid of us that easily? Dabi asked. Izuku charged his flames in his hand and his feet. Muscular charged for Izuku, but he created a wall of fire to hold him back, even if it was just for a bit, but at that time Dabi shot his flames. Not at Izuku but at Nijire. It was a direct hit in her back which made her fall down. Nijire, he shouted. You bastard, he then yelled. Magna quickly used his weapon to knock Nijire unconscious. Then lifted her up as a warp showed up. In no way, Nijire. He shouted. I won't let you take her. He said while getting up. He charged at Magna but was stopped by Dabi's flames. Izuku quickly stopped the flames but was then hit by Muscular, who made him crash into one of the dorms. Magna, take her, we need her for the plan, Dabi said as he, Spinner and Magna were walking towards the portal. Muscular wanted to come as well but was met with a heavy gut punch from Izuku which made him fly away. The 3 disappeared into the warp together with Nijire. Izuku charged at the warp but it disappeared a split second before he reached it. Izuku was terrified. Cowards! He shouted while punching the ground, creating cracks in the ground. Muscular showed up again while the other villains surrounded Izuku as well. As the students were too shocked to move. Attacking our school, attacking my friends, and even taking Nijire is the biggest mistake you could have ever made, Izuku said as he looked pissed at Muscular. If you are that upset about her, then why don't you save her? Muscular said. He threw a piece of paper in front of Izuku. If you want the girl back, then come take her yourself. I'm waiting for you, Izuku, was written on the paper. So my friends being hurt, Nijire being taken, is all because you wanted to lure me? Izuku asked. Yeah, Tamura said this would be the perfect plan to lure you in. Sadly, he failed to realize that you wouldn't even get past me. Muscular said while charging at Izuku. Izuku was slowly being covered in flames when he suddenly placed the flames towards his hand on the ground. Scorching earth, he shouted as multiple pillars shot up around the villains while a wave of fire was being shot from around Izuku towards the villains. It took the villains out except for Muscular. Muscular was wounded as some of his muscle veins had been burned off. That hurts, you little brat. Muscular shouted. At that moment Bakugo landed next to Izuku. He looked at Izuku and noticed something had happened. What happened, Izuku? He asked. Izuku gave him the paper. Bakugo read it and noticed a small map with a crickle around a building as their location. Who did they take? Bakugo asked. Nijire, he said. Well, let's finish him off and then we'll get her back together. Bagwo said. You sure you are fine with going there with me? It might be a trap, Izuku asked. I'm not letting you go there alone, we are a team. Bakugo stated. Both of them took a stance. Two little brats now. Not that it makes any difference, Muscular said. Izuku and Bakugo ran towards Muscular. Izuku kicked his legs from underneath him while Bakugo used a big explosion to launch Muscular up. Izuku flew up and launched Muscular from side to side in mid-air by throwing heavy punches at him. Bakugo flew up as well while Izuku shot Muscular with a big fireball towards the ground. Muscular crashed inside the ground while Izuku used his overheat drive, while Bakugo shot his AP shot at Muscular. Both attacks crashed at Muscular. Izuku used his fire to shoot himself down and landed while giving Muscular a heavy gut punch followed by a barrage of punches. Izuku only stopped the moment Muscular fell unconscious. Everyone was stunned by how Izuku and Bakugo had fought, not only because of how they fought together, but mostly by how aggressive Izuku's attacks were. Come on Izuku. Those villains made a wrong move by attacking UA and our friends. Let's get Nijire back and pay them back for everyone here. Bakugo said. Izuku stood up then looked at Bakugo. Let's go. Let's go. Izuku used his quirk to make Bakugo float while using his fire to fly himself. Izuku quickly flew towards the location they saw on the piece of paper. You have a plan? Bakugo asked, but there was no response. When he looked at Izuku, he saw that his eyes had turned a bit red. Bakugo knew that Izuku was pissed and that he wouldn't be able to stop him from going, but even so he was still worried about his friend. It only took a few minutes before Izuku and Bakugo reached the place. Let's first make sure she is safe. If we barge in while they are close to her, then they might use her as a shield, Bakugo explained. Izuku just nodded as he made both of them float again to look inside. Tomura was standing in front of Nijire, who was still unconscious. I know you want to fight them, especially after taking her, but we have to get her away from there. If we fight here, she risks being hurt, but also the people around here, Bakugo silently said. Izuku charged his fire in his fist and pulled back but held his arm like that. Bakugo looked inside and saw that Tomura was slowly walking away from Nijire. Izuku made Bakugo land softly on the floor. Then when Tomura was a safe distance from Nijire, he broke down the wall, quickly got inside, grabbed Nijire, and left. The villains quickly followed them while throwing attacks. Magna was trying to throw attacks, while 𝗕𝗵𝗍 shot his fire and Toga threw knives. Bakugo noticed that Izuku wanted to block the moves but couldn't because he had Nijire in his arms, so he quickly shot himself up with his explosions. Izuku quickly gave Nijire to Bakugo. He then turned around as he used his flames to block the moves. They quickly ran away, but they didn't know where to. A helicopter had spotted the boys running away from villains and quickly flew towards it. Once it came close enough to film it, 𝗕𝗵𝗍 shot fire towards the helicopter. Izuku combined his quirk as he used his fire fist towards the helicopter, but before it reached, he used his other quirk to change trajectory and shape and make it a wall of fire to block 𝗕𝗵𝗍's flames. Every television and every screen in the cities was showing the hunt by the villains. Izuku and Bakugo landed in an open area, but before their feet touched the ground, some sort of black mass suddenly appeared, and from it Nomus appeared. Izuku and Bakugo were surrounded by the Nomus and the League of Villains. But the closer they came, the angrier Izuku got, especially when he knew they took Nijire, but even more when he had the thought that they would hurt his best friend/brother and the girl he loves. Izuku was slowly being engulfed in flames. Suddenly a small slow line of fire came from his feet, then slowly circled around him, Bakugo and Nijire. Once it made the circle, a big wall of flames surrounded them as a means to defend. It helped a bit, but not for long, as all the Nomus charged at the same time while the League of Villains also used their attacks. It didn't take them long to completely break through. The Nomus all charged for Bakugo and Nijire, but Izuku had used his fire quirk to almost teleport in front of them while using a destructive power to launch them away. Magna then charged with his weapon to hit Nijire. Bakugo couldn't really move since he held her, but he tried shielding her with his body even though he knew that she would feel the impact anyways. Izuku quickly jumped in front. He was fast enough to get in front of him, but he wasn't fast enough to attack or block 𝗬𝗍 as the weapon crashed in Izuku's gut. Izuku didn't budge as he quickly placed his hands next to each other, then gave a battle cry as he used his flames to blow Magna away and unconscious. Twice, Toga and Spinner now charged 𝗬𝗍. Toga threw some knives while Twice gave a drop kick to Izuku. Izuku managed to block Twice, but the knives made a cut on Bakugo's left arm and just barely missed Nijire's face. Izuku was slowly breaking in anger as his body, head and fire surrounding him got hotter and hotter. Spinner used his sword made of multiple weapons, but Izuku caught it with his bare hands, then melted it and gave a heavy straight punch to the gut which made Spinner fly through 3 buildings. Izuku then disappeared as he appeared in front of Toga. She wanted to stab him, but he grabbed the knife and melted it. He grabbed her by the throat, lifted her up and gave a few heavy blows to her gut until she coughed blood. He then let her go just to grab her by the hair. He gave her a knee to the face, then dropped her, but before she fell he kicked her far away. Magna charged at Izuku in anger. He smashed Izuku with his weapon, but Izuku countered with his fist, smashing right through the weapon. He then gave Magna a heel kick towards the ribs as he also crashed in some buildings. Tamura and Kurogiri had now arrived and saw how Izuku had handled most of the League of Villains, as only 𝗕𝗵𝗍 was still standing. The Nomus charged at Izuku, but Izuku just stood there as his fire just growed. The fire was engulfing the Nomu as it quickly burned them completely away. Tamura, 𝗕𝗵𝗍 and Kurogiri were almost too afraid to move. Bakugo also saw this and was shocked by his power. Nijire slowly woke up. "Where am I? What happened?" she asked as she noticed Bakugo holding her. She wanted to ask him what was wrong until she felt him trembling a bit. When she looked at the reason, she gasped for air. She was looking at Izuku completely engulfed in fire, but those weren't normal flames, those were flames of hatred. She could even feel his hatred towards the villains. Nijire wanted to get out of Bakugo's grip, but he just held her tightly. "Don't," was all he could say. No one had ever seen Izuku with such rage and hatred, and even his brother was scared by what he saw. He must have figured that there is nothing we can do to stop him now, she thought. Back at the camp, Class 1A, Aizawa and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗧 also had the TV on as they watched Izuku there. They couldn't bring out a word from what they saw, everyone could only stare with wide eyes. They were impressed by Izuku's strength, but most of all they were scared. Scared by what would happen to Izuku after that, scared to see what will happen there. But they were also scared and worried to see Izuku like this. 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗧 pushed herself to use her telepathy towards him. It took all of her energy just to reach him and say, "Izuku, calm down." But he either didn't hear it or he couldn't control himself anymore as nothing changed other than 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗧 falling towards the ground panting heavily. Back at the school, all the teachers that were taken by surprise by the knockout gas were now awake. All the students were at their own dorm as they also watched what happened on TV. Mirio and Tamaki had the same reaction as Class 1A, but most of all they were frustrated. They couldn't do a thing to help. Suddenly 𝗕𝗵𝗍, Tamura and Kurogiri took a step back. Izuku held up his fist as the flames got more intense. He punched the ground as a wave of fire shot towards 𝗕𝗵𝗍, taking him off guard, crashing him inside a wall. Izuku then got up as he shot towards Tamura to punch him in the face, but to his surprise he got stopped. A man in a black suit was now standing in front of him and blocked his fist with both his hands. "You certainly are strong. I understand how you took them all out with such ease." The man said, "Tamura Shigaraki, please leave this place, take your comrades and leave. I will stay behind and handle with him, but you have to hurry, I can feel All Might coming Oswell," the man said. "Oh, are you?" Izuku managed to bring out through his anger. "So you can still speak. Seems you still have a little control left. As for my name, you can call me All for One," he answered. "So he is the final boss," Bakugo said. Kurogiri quickly made warp gates as he warped the unconscious members away and waited for Tamura to also leave. "But Mr. I can't leave you here to fight alone. You are too damaged." Tamura protested until All for One used a small move of air pressure to shoot Tamura through the warp, then Kurogiri left Oswell. At the moment the warp disappeared, All Might appeared and immediately attacked All for One. All Might, it took you longer than expected. I guess that wound I gave you back then must have really weakened you a lot, huh?" All for One said. "Today is the day I will end your terror," All Might shouted. As the air pressure from their clash slowly pushed Bakugo and Nijire away. Izuku jumped in between the air pressure and Bakugo and Nijire. Bakugo slowly let go of Nijire as she stood up on her own. Both Bakugo and Nijire were looking at Izuku, but Izuku had his back towards them as he was still in his rage. All Might and All for One were fighting and giving each other heavy blows, but All for One was slowly overpowering All Might. All for One then channeled a big air cannon in his arms. "𝗧𝗵𝗲, this is bad," All Might yelled. At that time All for One released his attack as All Might used almost all his power to block the air cannon. However, the air cannon was still swinging All Might back. Izuku suddenly got behind All Might as he stopped him with just one hand. The air cannon faded, but All Might was in his skinny form, which shocked literally everyone who saw it on the screens. "Now All Might, your secret has been revealed to the entire world. Now I wonder who still has faith in the symbol of peace. People will fear the villains again. I have shown the world that the symbol of peace All Might can be beaten." 𝗵𝗃 said while laughing. Izuku gritted his teeth as his anger kept rising. He is way too strong for me in my current condition. The wound he gave me has really weakened me, just like he said, All Might said. Ah, that reminds me, I think some of my comrades informed me about your parents, right? Izuku Midoriya, 𝗵𝗃 said, mocking Izuku. Izuku's fire suddenly rose up quickly after hearing AFO say that, but even more saying his full name. Everyone could also hear the conversation, so everyone who knew the truth about Izuku got even more worried. You want to know the reason I needed your parents? He asked. All Might and Bakugo both had wide eyes. It's because I needed your father's quirk. It was such a good quirk, but it was wasted on that coward. A good-for-nothing who needed to die. Izuku fell on the ground as he couldn't contain his anger anymore. He started growling a little in anger. It was such a strong quirk, and I just had to have it for myself, he said. What do you mean you had to have it for yourself? Bakugo shouted. It's better to demonstrate, he said while grinning. Young Bakugo, get away quickly. All Might shouted. Suddenly 𝗵𝗃 opened his mouth as fire shot out from his mouth towards Bakugo and Nijire. But that's... Bakugo said as he quickly made explosions to stop the fire. In the end, the fire and explosions created a bigger explosion, which hit Bakugo back. But after seeing that attack and his brother being hurt, Izuku snapped. Izuku got up as he began screaming in anger. A lot of air pressure and heat was being released from him, as it pushed the helicopter a bit back as well as Bakugo and Nijire. Young Izuku, calmed down. All Might tried. Izuku was so pissed that he couldn't hear anything anymore. Luckily his rage was directed towards 𝗵𝗃. He kept screaming while releasing all that energy. Impressive display of power. I see that I made a bit of a mistake on my part. I should have taken your quirk instead of the coward his quirk, 𝗵𝗃 said. He then shot more fire out of his mouth, but this time towards Izuku, but because of Izuku's energy release, the fire split up and created big fires in other buildings. Izuku suddenly stopped screaming. The fire surrounding him got lighter, but the place where his eyes were was just glowing, so no one was able to see his eyes. Suddenly the fire around his hands and feet got darker as he suddenly disappeared and appeared in the air in front of 𝗵𝗃. Hoya! He shouted as he gave a barrage of hits towards 𝗵𝗃. But he barely managed to block all the attacks. He then pushed Izuku back with his air cannon. Once Izuku landed, 𝗵𝗃 started buffing his body up as he used a mixture of multiple strength and speed enhancers. Izuku charged again, but instead of blocking the attacks, 𝗵𝗃 was now countering them with his own fists. Izuku's were still slightly stronger due to his anger, but it wasn't enough to overpower 𝗵𝗃. All Might saw this and got angry. If I hadn't been so weak back then my 𝗵𝗃 would have never died and Izuku wouldn't have to feel this pain and anger like this. If I had taken care of 𝗵𝗃 back then Izuku's parents would still be alive, and he wouldn't have to fight this fight, All Might said, cursing himself. All Might channeled the last of his power as one of his arms buffed up. I have enough strength left for one more move. I have to make it count. Bakugo noticed this as well. He quickly shot himself up towards the fighting Izuku and 𝗵𝗃. Bakugo shot his explosions at 𝗵𝗃, but 𝗵𝗃 was just deflecting them. Izuku, if you are still in there, please let me know that you can hear me. Bakugo shouted. Everyone from his class as well as the teachers were shocked how Bakugo jumped in the battle that All Might and Izuku were fighting. If you can hear me, then do a step back, or look towards Nijire or anything. Just let me know you can hear me, he said. Bakugo, Izuku managed to say. Bakugo backed off from 𝗵𝗃 as he grabbed Izuku and jumped a few steps back. Listen, we have to create an opening. All Might has a plan, but I think he can only do this one time. We have to make sure that attack reaches the villain. He silently explained towards Izuku. As he barely managed to nod. Izuku suddenly shot up high in the sky as he placed his hand up. Bakugo quickly ran towards All Might. Izuku and I will create an opening. Once you see it, attack that villain with everything you have. Make sure you end this. Bakugo said. All Might looked surprised and shocked but nodded. Nijire was frozen in fear by the power 𝗵𝗃 displayed. He did not only overpower All Might, but he was also holding his own against an angered Izuku. Izuku then charged the fireball he wanted to use at the villains back in the camp. 𝗕𝗏 saw the fireball and used the fire from his mouth in an attempt to blow it up, but the moment it reached Izuku, the fire from 𝗕𝗏 got swallowed by Izuku's fireball. The surrounding fire from his earlier attack were also slowly being absorbed by Izuku's fireball. 𝗕𝗏 wanted to charge at Izuku but was stopped as Bakugo was shooting explosions again. "I won't let you get to him, you piece of 𝗕," he shouted. 𝗕𝗏 blocked the explosions as he slowly got closer to Bakugo. A few moments later Bakugo realized that Izuku's attack was ready and stopped using his explosion. 𝗕𝗏 quickly charged at Bakugo, kicking him on the shoulder, which smashed Bakugo towards the ground. The force of the kick blew away half of his shirt and he coughed up some blood. Izuku saw this and added more rage to the fireball, then shot it towards 𝗕𝗏. The fireball was enormous and held a lot of destructive power. 𝗕𝗏 noticed the fireball coming and tried to stop it. He managed to stop the fireball from advancing as he channeled enough strength to keep the fireball at arm's length. "You won't beat us, you hear?" Bakugo shouted as he slowly got up while wobbling on his feet. He held his hands up towards 𝗕𝗏 as his left hand got in front of his right. AP shot. He shot to 𝗕𝗏's back. 𝗕𝗏 then used one hand to stop the AP shot and the other to hold the fireball away, but the fireball then slowly started overpowering 𝗕𝗏 as he had to divide his strength now. Izuku gave another battle cry when he suddenly charged another attack. Izuku channeled his strength, then got closer to the fireball. When he was just a few meters away from it, he suddenly released his move. "Overheat drive," he shouted while using the move with all his strength. The overheat drive crashed into the fireball, which now completely overpowered 𝗕𝗏 as it crashed into him, but the moment the moves crashed into 𝗕𝗏 they exploded. Izuku took the full blow from the explosion as well. He got launched up high into the air as his fire surrounding him disappeared, showing an unconscious and gravely wounded Izuku falling towards the ground. 𝗕𝗏 was stunned and also gravely injured by that move as he couldn't use his body. All Might quickly jumped towards 𝗕𝗏 as he smashed him with everything he had. "United States of Smash," he shouted as he punched 𝗕𝗏 in the face, crashing him into the ground, creating a giant crater. Nijire saw Izuku falling and quickly used her quirk to fly towards him. She quickly caught him but saw he was bleeding on his head. His shirt was blown away and she saw his body covered in cuts as he was also bleeding a lot there. She slowly landed with Izuku as All Might and Bakugo quickly ran up to them. Back at the camp, Aizawa ordered everyone to get to the bus. Mandalay and the PP Cats also joined them. At the school, Nizu, Mirio and Tamaki all got in Mick's car as they also headed towards the city the fight happened. It didn't take long for ambulances and police to reach the scene. The police quickly restrained 𝗕𝗏 as he was taken to Tartaros. Izuku was quickly taken to a hospital together with Bakugo and All Might. Nijire stayed by Izuku's side. Once at the hospital, everyone showed up, Aizawa's group as well as Nizu's group. Mirio and Tamaki quickly ran towards Nijire, who was crying since she arrived at the hospital. When she arrived there, she noticed everything that had happened and her fear finally got out. Mirio and Tamaki tried comforting her and asked her how Izuku was doing, but Izuku was still being treated. Meanwhile, Bakugo and All Might slowly walked towards the groups. All Might had some bandages on his hand and body, while having cast on his right arm as it was broken. Bakugo had some fractures but was only covered by bandages. "So how is Izuku?" Bakugo asked, looking at Nijire. "They are still treating him," she said, sobbing. "I really hope he survives," she said while bursting in tears. "Don't worry, he will be fine." Mirio was cut off by her. "You haven't seen how he was bleeding and how injured he was, so don't give me false hope," she shouted in tears. Bakugo then did something which surprised everyone. He walked towards Nijire, sat next to her, laid his hand on her head and comforted her. She placed her head in his shoulder and cried everything out. "I'm just as worried about him as you are, but we have to keep believing that Izuku is all right," Bakugo said. Everyone was terribly worried about him when suddenly the doctor showed up. "How is he?" Bakugo asked. "Well, he is out of danger. We gave him blood transfusion since he had lost a lot of blood. We also stitched his wounds," the doctor explained. "So he is all right?" Uraraka said. "Physically, yes," the doctor said, looking down. "What do you mean?" Nizu now asked. Physically he has recovered enough to be walking around again, but I can't really describe his mental state. He was awake the entire time when we stitched him, but he didn't make a sound nor does he respond to anything we do or say, the doctor explained, which shocked everyone. Can we see him? Aizawa asked. Well, it's not that you can't, but I wouldn't advise it, especially for you kids, the doctor said, looking at all the students. Nijire wanted to object but was stopped by Bakugo. You don't want to see him like this, was all he said. This took everyone by surprise. Do you know something about this? The doctor asked. Then the doctor remembered the fight on the TV. You were his partner in that fight. You too saved that girl, he said, looking at Nijire. In that fight I tried connecting to Izuku. He only managed to barely say my name and nod once, that was everything. His eyes looked empty, but the feeling I got from him was pure rage. It scared me, Bakugo explained. It almost looked like Izuku was dead and the person in front of me was just an empty shell. That's the best I can describe it, Bakugo explained. Trust me, you don't want to see him like that because from what I heard just now from the doctor, it's even worse from what I saw, he explained. Everyone nodded. I still want to see him, 𝗵𝗲𝗍 said, which took everyone by surprise. You guys might not have realized, but Izuku and I talked quiet a lot back at the camp. When I noticed something was up, I followed him once and he told me everything about him and his parents. He didn't speak about it to anyone else because he felt it was meaningless to tell someone about it who doesn't know how it feels. He lost his parents by a villain attack. I lost my sister by a villain called Muscular. She explained. Once he knew that he was able to talk about it and even break away from the walls he created to keep it in, maybe I can break through it again. She said. Muscular, Bakugo said. What's with him? 𝗵𝗲𝗍 asked, a bit confused. Tell me, does he have a quirk which give him a body covered in muscle fibers? Bakugo asked. Yes, that's right. Why do you want to know? 𝗵𝗲𝗍 asked. We encountered him at... Bakugo said as her eyes got wide. Now I know why Izuku became so serious when he saw him, he added. You mean you fought Muscular? 𝗵𝗲𝗍 almost shouted. Yes, we did. Izuku gave him quite the beating. It wouldn't surprise me if he was still stuck in that small crater, Bakugo said. Well, about that, it was quite a bit of work for the police to get him out of there, especially without risking the broken ribs to pierce his lungs, Nizu said. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 was shocked to hear the state Muscular was in after fighting Izuku. I guess he must have fought that battle for you then, Bakugo said, giving a weak grin. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 nodded while giving a weak smile. She then asked the doctor to bring her to Izuku. Once she arrived, Izuku was just staring in front of him. Hey Izuku, how are you feeling? She asked, but he didn't respond. Are you feeling pain anywhere? She then asked, still no response. I heard you fought Muscular. This time Izuku's hand grabbed the sheet. When I heard the state you put him in, I was really impressed, she said. He looked towards her with empty eyes. Thank you. Thanks to you, my sister's killer is in prison. You don't know how relieved I am, she said as she grabbed his hand and bowed her head to him. You're welcome, he managed to say. This took her by surprise. Izuku, you really are still there? She said with a smile and a tear in her eyes. Izuku just nodded. How do you feel? She asked. I feel nothing, he said. What do you mean? She asked, confused. I feel nothing, no pain, no sadness or anger. I feel nothing, he said. Then the doctor walked up to them. Seeing how angry he got during the fight, I think this is some kind of barrier to protect himself from any more harm. He was close to losing himself in his anger. The doctor explained. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 got up and hugged him while crying a little. Doctor, will this be permanent? She asked. I don't know. It's like he built a solid wall around his heart. It would need something very strong to break through it, he said. It all depends if there is something strong enough to break through it and when he will encounter it, the doctor added. He began. What's wrong, Izuku? She asked. It felt like I was trying to kill my own dad. I was losing my mind. Then I saw his quirk, but my body was attacking it. Felt like I was trying to kill my own dad, he said while tears fell down his face. Strangely, I feel tears falling down, but I feel no sadness, he said. This was too much for 𝗵𝗲𝗍 as she walked away crying. Everyone saw her running away in tears. It seems it's worse than we thought, Aizawa said. Suddenly the doctor came running. You have to help. Izuku is trying to get out. The doctor said, But the moment he said it they heard glass breaking. When they ran towards his room they saw him fly away towards UA. They all quickly got back to UA and started searching. 𝗵𝗃 heard about everything and joined the search. Mirio, Tamaki, Nijire, Bakugo, Azui, Uraraka, 𝗵𝗃 and Kirishima stayed behind in their search. They thought they would have more of a chance to find him if they searched in a group. Suddenly they found him at ground beta. He was sitting in a dark alley. Azui noticed him while she passed by. "Izuku," she said. He looked but didn't say a thing. "Is it okay if I come closer?" she asked as he nodded. She came closer and sat next to him. "Are you a bit alright?" she asked. "I don't know, I felt like I was trying to kill my dad when I talked about it. I felt tears falling down my face, but I didn't feel anything that's not right, he asked. "No, it's not, but it is understandable after everything you have been through," she said. 𝗵𝗃 heard Azui talking to Izuku and notified the group with her quirk as everyone slowly gathered. They all walked towards Izuku and Azui. "No one blames you, you have been through a lot, and mentally you have handled more than even an adult should. You learned about a horrifying truth and you also learned a lot of horrible things in a short amount of time, and to top it all off, we even got attacked by villains, and while most of us froze in fear, you fought everything head-on. You did it all on your own." They heard Azui say, "That finale boss was so scary. I thought that you, Bakugo and All Might were about to die, but I saw you in that angry state, and I was more worried about how you would be as a person after that even if you survived. But Izuku, we all noticed one thing. You try to do everything by yourself, avenge your parents alone, protect everyone alone. You are carrying everything by yourself," she said. "You should trust us more. Sure, you are a lot stronger, and even if we can't handle villains ourselves, we can still back you up. You aren't alone. We can support you. And not just in hero work, you should believe in us and trust us. With everything, even your feelings. If something bothers you, then we are there for you. We are one big family here. We all have been through so much together, it's just insane, but it hurts everyone knowing something is bothering you and knowing you are carrying that alone," she added. Izuku then got more color in his eyes as he began tearing up. Suddenly something unexpected happened as Bakugo kneeled down in front of Izuku and pulled him in a bro hug. After that, Izuku completely broke down in tears. Kirishima joined the hug as well as Azui, Uraraka, Nijire and 𝗵𝗃. Even the shy Tamaki and Mirio joined. "Izuku, you remembered what I said, right? Before you left, I told you Mirio, Nijire and I are like family to each other, and you joined that family. We all care for you," Tamaki said. "Thank you, Tamaki. Thank you, Azui. Thank you, everyone," Izuku said while crying even more. "From now on, rely on us, even if it's hero work or a fight against villains, maybe even your feelings or whatever, no matter what bothers you, rely on us. You can always talk to us about anything. We all care for you and we are all here for you," Mirio said. Plus, after all that, they all started to feel more heat as Izuku was warming up again as well as using his Quirk to warm everyone else up as well. "You guys are amazing. I'm glad I got such a great family as you guys. I love all of you." After the big hug Izuku got from the group, he felt a lot better. "Well, shall we go back to the dorms?" Uraraka asked as everyone nodded. They all stood up and started walking except for Izuku. "Izuku, what's wrong?" Kirishima asked. "Why aren't you coming?" he added. "Well, I wasn't supposed to use my quirk already, but I did. Now I can't really move my body and I can't really walk or even stand," Izuku said as he awkwardly scratched the back of his head. Mirio walked towards him and with the help of Tamaki they lifted Izuku on Mirio's back as he walked him back to the dorm. Before they started walking, Nijire walked up to him as she kissed his cheek. "I hope this makes you feel a bit better," she said, blushing as she quickly walked away. "Well, she definitely likes you," Mirio said with a smile. "I know, I wish I could respond to her feelings," he said in a silent and sad tone. "Why can't you?" Mirio asked silently as well so no one could hear, except for Tamaki who was close by and also listening. "Just look at the state I am in. I can't even walk on my own, and I lost control twice. I'm not strong enough to protect anyone, or even myself. I have to find a way to control my quirk better and get stronger," Izuku explained. "Well, why not start with training yourself mentally?" Tamaki joined the conversation. "Up till now you only got in such a state after someone pushed you into anger, especially this last time. Although it was understandable, I doubt anyone else could have done better after hearing and seeing all that, he added. You're right, but my quirk also has to become stronger, Izuku stated. Until then I can't respond to her feelings, not yet. I don't want her to be worried about me all the time and that she ends up saving or protecting me. I don't want to be a burden, which I am at the moment, he said. We understand and will help you all the way, Mirio said. Suddenly Bakugo walked towards Mirio. You guys, you are considered the top 3 of UA, right? Bakugo asked. Mirio nodded. I want to fight you, he then said. I want to see for myself just how strong the top students of our school are and if there even is a gap, he stated. I'm in Oswell, Izuku said, taking everyone by surprise. Now that's a fight everyone would love to see. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 said. I could try and hire a small arena for you all to fight, that way people can watch and you guys get to fight as much as you like. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 said. That would be great. Nijire said. Alright then, I will take you guys on then. Do you mind if we use hero suits? Mirio asked. That's fine, Izuku said. That way we can all go all out. But I don't want to fight just you, I want to fight all 3 of you, Izuku stated. For me, Bakugo said. This took the others by even more surprise. They all walked back to the dorms as 𝗵𝗃𝗍 had used her quirk to tell everyone that Izuku was back at the dorm. Everyone quickly rushed back, including the teachers. Everyone was worried about Izuku but were relieved to see he was back to his normal self. Kirishima explained to everyone how Izuku and Bakugo challenged the big 3. You did what now? Aizawa asked as Nizu also got curious about it. That's not such a bad idea, Nizu said. I am rather curious as well as how that would turn out. He added. I also offered to hire a small arena so they could fight and we can watch, 𝗵𝗃𝗍 explained. Everyone got excited about the fight that was about to come. They all talked a bit more and decided that the fight would be held in 2 days. That way Izuku could recover his body enough to be able to fight. Everything went well. It was weekend, so there was no school. Everyone just relaxed and hanged out with Izuku, who was taking it easy to recover his body. The days passed quickly. It was now Monday and they should have classes, but Nizu gave everyone a day off as it was the day for the fight between the tag duo and the big 3. All the teachers as well as all the students came to watch. Even some pro heroes who knew Izuku and Bakugo or the big 3 came to look. All Might's Fromer sidekick Night-Eye was also in the stands watching. Izuku and Bakugo walked up the field as Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire were already waiting for them. Alright then, we shall explain our quirks now, Mirio said. There is no need for that, Izuku said bluntly, but we already know your quirks, it's only fair that we explain ours, Mirio then said, looking confused. We will see your quirks in this fight, and we will try to understand your quirks through battle as well as form a counter for it. Bakugo explained. You may outnumber is 3-2, but don't take us lightly, Bakugo said. If you do, then you'll regret it, Izuku said with a confident grin. They have never seen Izuku this confident. They knew he was serious and never gave up, but never did they expect to see him like this. Alright everyone, this is the fight everyone has been waiting for. Who will win this battle? Will it be Izuku and Bakugo? Or will it be the famous big 3? We'll find out today. Everyone ready? Battle begin. Midnight said as she was the referee for the fight. Nijire quickly flew up in the air with her quirk while Tamaki created tentacles. Tamaki quickly grabbed Izuku and Bakugo with the tentacles as Nijire used her quirk to shoot an energy wave at them. The energy wave was blocked by Izuku as he created a circle of fire around him and Bakugo. After Nijire's attack was blocked, Izuku dropped the wall of flames. They noticed that Mirio was gone. Suddenly he appeared behind them and tried attacking Bakugo in the back of the head, but he was stopped last second as suddenly a pillar of fire showed up behind Bakugo to block the attack. The pillar of fire vanished after blocking the attack and Mirio noticed that there were small circle of flames surrounding Izuku and Bakugo. They were barely seeable as Izuku made them very small. Not a bad strategy. Tamaki held us in place so Nijire could finish the job, but it was all a diversion to give Mirio a chance to strike. Not too bad, Izuku explained. I also think I have a good grasp of your quirks, Izuku said as Bakugo nodded. Tamaki can change his body in animals. I don't know yet if it's by imagining or consuming it. Nijire has a quirk that lets her use her energy to create attacks and also to make herself fly, Bakugo explained. Mirio is able to slip through matter, Izuku said. Everyone was shocked by how fast they figured the quirks out, but even more how Izuku blocked Mirio's surprise attack without even looking. Suddenly the big three split up as they surrounded Izuku and Bakugo. Bakugo turned around as was standing back to back with Izuku. Tamaki suddenly changed his legs to make him faster as he changed his arm to a crab's. Mirio charged in 𝗬𝗃𝗏. Meanwhile Nijire launched her quirk towards Izuku. Izuku held out his hand as fire rose from it, making a small unbreakable wall which blocked Mirio's punch as well as Nijire's shot. Since her shots went in circles, it wasn't really that hard to respond to it, or so Izuku thought. Bakugo just blasted Tamaki's crab hammer away with ease. Suddenly Nijire shot multiple energy beams towards Izuku and Bakugo. This time they went in a straight line as they were all much faster. Izuku jumped up as he deflected all the beams. Mirio tried to take advantage of the opening Nijire's attack created, but the moment Mirio was about to make contact with Izuku, Bakugo's hand passed Izuku's chest as he blasted Mirio away from up close. Izuku then charged his fire in his left foot as he made an overhead kick towards Tamaki, who tried attacking both their blind spots. He then quickly jumped as Bakugo made an explosion underneath Izuku's feet which made him shoot towards Nijire at great speed. He punched her in the gut which crashed her in the ceiling. Izuku landed as he saw Mirio rushing Bakugo. While Tamaki tried to hit Izuku with the nose of a swordfish, Izuku shot some fire in front of Bakugo to block Mirio's sight as Bakugo just blasted an explosion beside him to blow away Tamaki's move. Then he quickly used his explosions behind him to launch him forward. At the moment he did, Izuku lowered the flames and Bakugo was able to land an exploding punch towards Mirio's face. Everyone in the stance was impressed by Izuku and Bakugo. They were perfectly in sync as they knew from each other what they were gonna do as well as cover each other. Mirio, Tamaki quickly got up again as Nijire got herself free from the ceiling. Nijire shot a strong energy beam which Bakugo countered with continuous explosions. At that moment both Mirio and Tamaki charged for Bakugo as they figured it was easier to take him down first than fight Izuku 3-1. But as they got close, Izuku jumped towards Bakugo. They just looked at each other as Izuku gave a volley kick with his flames towards Bakugo's head, but Bakugo ducked at the last second as Izuku yelled, "Flame wheel," as he kicked in a circle above Bakugo. A ring of fire quickly surrounded them, blocking all the attacks. Bakugo then quickly blasted Mirio and Tamaki away. Nijire tried another energy beam, but Bakugo held out his gauntlet as he pulled out the pin to shoot a giant explosion towards Nijire. The explosion completely destroyed her beam, then reached her and exploded, making her fall down unconscious. Izuku used his quirk to stop her from falling as he gently placed her on the ground next to the field. "Now it's just 2 versus 2, Izuku said in a confident tone. "What do you think, Bakugo?" he then asked. "They are strong and have very good combination play, but still we are more in sync, our powers are close to equal. The only thing that should have given them the advantage over everyone else apart from their power is their experience. Luckily we got more experience as we have always fought together from when we were little kids. If that wasn't the case then this fight would have turned the other way," he said. "And comparing yourself to them?" Izuku asked. "There is a gap, that's for sure. They are strong. That chick was pushing me back with her quirk and the other 2 are fast and strong as well," he answered. "Are you satisfied?" Izuku asked as Bakugo nodded. "Good, then stand back. I will handle those 2 myself," Izuku said with such a confident smile that the people almost thought that they were looking at Bakugo. The crowd cheered loudly. Aizawa and Nizu didn't believe their eyes. They expected Izuku and Bakugo were good fighters but never expected this. "Show off," Bakugo said grinning. "Go ahead," he added. "Are you really gonna take both of us on yourself?" Tamaki asked, shocked. "Yeah, you ready?" he asked. Mirio didn't say anything as he just watched Izuku with a serious face. Izuku then jumped towards Tamaki. He charged his fire in his right fist and punched towards Tamaki, but the moment the punch was about to land, his fist was stopped by Tamaki and Mirio's hand blocking his fist, while Izuku used his left hand to block Mirio's counterpunch and his knee to block Tamaki's kick. Izuku then charged his fire in his right leg. Izuku put a lot of power in his leg as his fire was giving off vibrates in the sky. They could feel the power he put in it before it even reached them. Izuku spinned 360 degrees as he kicked Mirio, who tried blocking with his arm while pushing with his other hand, but Mirio was overpowered as he flew right at the wall. Izuku then spinned another 180 degrees and kicked Tamaki in the stomach, launching him in another wall. Fight's over. And the winners are Izuku and Bakugo. Midnight shouted. The crowd cheered loudly for the two. Just how strong have you become? Bakugo asked silently. A lot stronger than I used to be, and I will keep getting stronger, he said. Izuku then walked towards Nijire, placed her on his back while he used his quirk on Mirio and Tamaki to make them float and walk towards Recovery Girl's office. Bakugo followed him. Once their Recovery Girl asked what happened as Izuku explained how it all happened. She was shocked to hear that Izuku and Bakugo defeated the Big Three without even taking a scratch. Suddenly a portal opened up as someone walked out of it. A man walked up to Bakugo as he collapsed right in front of him. Dad! Bakugo shouted. Bakugo's dad was beaten up pretty badly. Katsuki Izuku, save her, he said before he fell unconscious. Suddenly a phone fell from his hands as it had a video. Hello there, Izuku and Bakugo. As you can see, we have all recovered quite nicely, so I thought I would show you with a present. If you see this video, then that must mean that you found the pathetic old man, but I still have her, Tamura said in the video as slowly Bakugo's mom was shown. She was tied up and unconscious. After you two took down 𝗕𝗏𝗄, we just felt like we had to repay you, and maybe bring some memories up for Izuku, and what better way than to combine the two? Not only will we reach you where it hurts, we will also kill a family member of yours again, Izuku. Tamura said. If you want to find us, we are at the warehouse where you fought Ara. Come find us, heroes, Tamura spotted. I will kill the bastard. Bakugo said, enraged. First I will burn him up, then you can blow his head off. Izuku said, just as angry. Izuku casually walked outside with Bakugo. Recovery Girl tried stopping them, but it didn't help as they went anyways. Mirio had woken up and heard about what happened. He tried waking up Tamaki and Nijire, then secretly headed off with them. Recovery Girl quickly ran towards Nizu's office. Aizawa was there as well. Nizu, I have terrible news, she said, panting. Recovery Girl, what's wrong? Aizawa asked. Ah, good Aizawa, you are here as well. It's Izuku and Bakugo. The villains kidnapped their mother and provoked them to come to them. They obviously set a trap and they are heading there right now, she explained. Aizawa and Nizu stood up and quickly ran outside, but were too late as they saw Izuku stomping his left foot on the ground when they shot up from the ground at an insane speed. Did they tell you where they were going? Aizawa asked. Something about an warehouse where they fought their MSTR or something. Do they mean the place where they fought All for One? She asked as Aizawa nodded. It didn't take Izuku and Bakugo long to reach the place. Once they reached the place, the League of Villains were waiting outside for them. Ah, good to see that you actually came. Izuku, you are as fast as ever. Tamura spotted. Give me back my mom, you piece of... Bakugo yelled. If you want her back, then you have to take her, but I warn you, our new friend won't let you pass that easily, Tamura said with a smile. Suddenly a dark creature appeared. It was similar to a Nomu yet different, but it definitely had a presence. A presence that felt familiar. Bakugo charged at the villains but was kicked back by the creature. Bakugo shot back to his spot but crashed into the ground with a heavy hit. Even Izuku was surprised by this. Izuku tried charging as well but stayed defensive, and he was lucky he did as he barely managed to block the punch thrown by the creature. He blocked it but was still sent back. This strength, Izuku said. Do you like it? This Nomu has the power of memory. He can copy the strength or power he remembers, and 𝗵𝗃𝗄 happened to place his memory of the fight with All Might in his head. This creature is as strong as All Might was back then. Tamura laughed. Well, I know he can finish you off himself, but I want to give my comrades a chance for revenge as well after everything you put them through, so try fighting off everyone at once. Tamura then shouted. Bakugo slowly got up. If you don't make it in time, then your precious mother will crumble to dust, he said, slowly walking towards their mother. Don't you dare, you sick bastard. Bakugo shouted. Cover me, was all Izuku said as he charged towards their mother. All the villains charged at him. Izuku sidestepped Spinner's swords and pushed away Toga's knife. He jumped over twice while he flipped over Magna's weapon. Once he landed, Dabi shot High's flames at him. Izuku placed his hands in the flames as he ripped them apart and continued his advance. The creature attacked 𝗬𝗏, but suddenly Bakugo showed up and made an enormous explosion right at the creature's head, blowing it away. Izuku reached 𝗕𝗵𝗲 and quickly gave him a kick like he gave Mirio, as 𝗕𝗵𝗲 too crashed in a wall like Mirio had before. Izuku quickly grabbed their mother and jumped away. He laid her on the ground back at Bakugo's spot, as he quickly stood up again to face all the villains. Mom. Bakugo shouted as his mom slowly opened her eyes. Are you alright? He quickly asked. Bakugo. Izuku. What happened? Where am I? She asked. Suddenly she saw the villains that were in front of Izuku and she froze in fear. Bakugo, if anyone gets past me, protect her with your life, Izuku stated. Wait, Izuku, you can't take that creature on, let alone all of them together. Bakugo shouted. Even the two of us couldn't stop them completely. They would just target Mom and we would throw our bodies in front of her to take the damage, but that's just what they want, Izuku stated. Then let us help. Mirio shouted as he and his friends runned up. No, I got this. It's time to use my secret technique, Izuku said. Please keep this hidden from everyone else. I wouldn't want to show this to everyone. Izuku said. The big three walked towards Bakugo's side behind Izuku. Secret technique, hidden fire form, Hell's Inferno, Izuku said. Suddenly a large pillar of fire spiked from Izuku, but then the fire completely vanished. His eyes became dark and he had a very powerful presence around him. But the villains didn't notice it. All they saw was a burst of fire which quickly vanished. That's all you got. What a waste, kill him guys. 𝗕𝗵𝗲 said. Toga and Spinner jumped towards Izuku with knife and blade. Izuku looked like he didn't move, but Toga and Spinner launched away at high speed from a powerful hit. What just happened? 𝗕𝗵𝗲 shouted in anger. Magna, twice now, also jumped towards Izuku while 𝗕𝗶𝗍 shot his fire with all his might, but the fire was redirected towards 𝗕𝗶𝗍 while Magna and Twice flew up high in the air. After half a minute they finally fell down on the floor unconscious. Then the creature vanished as they felt a giant surge of energy followed by a strong air pressure. When they looked at the source they noticed Izuku blocked the creature's blow with just one hand. Izuku spinned 180 degrees and kicked the creature back to his spot, then quickly jumped and gave a barrage of punches towards it. Izuku then jumped up and kneed the creature in the head, kicking him up. Izuku kicked the creature through the sky. He punched the creature in the gut down towards the ground. The creature crashed into the ground with Izuku's fist still connected to the gut. Once the creature landed, it created a giant crater which was then filled by an enormous pillar of fire. What is this strength? Bakugo asked in shock. Seems he finally controls it, Mirio said looking at Izuku. What do you mean? Tamaki asked. You know what this is, he added. Mirio nodded. This is Izuku's true power coming from anger, Mirio explained. This shocked everyone. Did he lose control again? Tamaki yelled. No, this time Izuku has complete control over it, Mirio explained. Izuku jumped up. Crossfire, he said as he kicked fire, making a cross, then punching the cross in the middle. The cross shot down towards the ground as it hit the creature, creating enormous walls of fire from the cross. You mean to tell me Izuku controls this much power? And it's all from anger? Nijire asked. Yes, and I think I also understand why he doesn't want people to know. First, because we all hate to see him so angry, and second, for the backlash it has, Mirio explained. What do you mean backlash? Tamaki asked. Look, he said, pointing at Izuku, who was panting and sweating heavily. He controls his anger, but it seems it's the first time he is really using it. He can't control it for long and it seems to take a lot of energy out of him, he explained. 𝗕𝗵𝗲 ran towards Izuku from the back. Izuku just made a backflip and kicked 𝗕𝗵𝗲 in the back into the ground. He then grabbed 𝗕𝗵𝗲 by the neck as he kicked him towards the sky. He jumped up after 𝗕𝗵𝗲 but made sure he stayed underneath 𝗕𝗵𝗲 as he quickly made a giant fireball which exploded at point-blank range of 𝗕𝗵𝗲, which made him launch away unconscious. Izuku noticed that the creature was up again and was about to charge at Bakugo's group. He quickly exploded fire underneath his feet as he shot at extreme speeds towards the creature, as he tackled it in the back with his shoulder, creating an even bigger crater. Time to end this, Izuku said as he grabbed the creature's leg and threw him up in the air. He then jumped up and created another giant fireball with 2 hands, then shot it at the creature, launching it into the ground again. The move was followed by Izuku's finishing move. "Spiral blaze," he said as he was spinning towards the villain surrounded by fire. He crashed into the creature as he totally destroyed the creature. Once Izuku noticed it was over, he undid his power, and just in time as Aizawa and Nizu showed up with the other teachers, Kurogiri teleported the villains away again. "This isn't over," he said as he left. Izuku fell to his knees, heavily panting. Mirio walked up to Izuku. "You did great. You finally mastered it," he said. "I didn't enter it yet. The reason it takes so much out of me is because my power and anger leaked out," he explained silently. "Still, you did an awesome job," he praised. "Thanks," Izuku said with a smile. "Thank you for saving me, Izuku, Bakugo," everyone Bakugo's mom said. "Don't worry, everything for family." Izuku smiled. Suddenly Nijire walked up to him and sat in front of him. "You really were impressive," she said. "Yeah, but please keep it a secret," he said, looking at everyone as he nodded. "I think it's also safe to finally answer you," he said, looking at Nijire, who was confused by what he said. "What do you mean?" She was cut off as Izuku kissed her on the lips. "About goddamn time," Bakugo stated. Mirio and Tamaki also proudly smiled at him. Izuku and Nijire parted from the kiss. They looked at each other. "I love you, Nijire," Izuku said with the biggest smile he had ever given, then he passed out with his head on her chest. "Idiot, I wanted to tell you that I love you. Guess you beat me to it," she said silently as she placed her arms around him with a smile as she kissed his head. "I love you too, Izuku."